Welcome to Nerd on Nerd with me, Ellie Kempster.
And me, Liam Underwood. And this week, we're joined by special guest, Becky Darke. Yay!
Hello! Hi!
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It feels like...
Are we going to do that thing where we pretend that we haven't already recorded this episode?
If you want.
I don't know.
Nah, see, I've already revealed it.
But the beauty of editing is you can remove that.
Nah.
That's not how Ellie edits.
No, it's not.
I like people knowing because, you know, then they can, if it all goes, if they're like, oh, this sounds boring, then we can be like, we'd already recorded it, it's fine.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, Ellie, we're supposed to be good enough hosts that it doesn't sound boring and everyone is engaged and enjoying themselves still.
I think we should just look at the first recording as a beautiful rehearsal.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
All right. That was the rehearsal. That was the rehearsal recording. Now we're doing the real thing.
That was
because I'm such a professional that I demand a rehearsal.
Yeah, that was
and it's
us,
definitely not that I just accidentally didn't record any of my audio.
Yeah, we would just
and that me and Liam
kind of
didn't have a backup.
Sure.
Yeah, we never have a backup though. We need to figure out a backup.
Yeah,
the first recording was just us like getting to know Becky, and now that we've got to know her,
now we're best friends.
Yeah, now the listeners can kind of like join in.
All right, okay.
All right, so later on in this episode, we are going to be culture swapping The Omen, which Becky recommended. Hopefully, listeners, you've watched along or something. Obviously, our Twitter has been absolutely dead of any correspondence when it comes to The Omen, pretty much. Besides, I think Kat, but that's fine. I'm sure
Liam's
that you're all still just watching this film. And once you've listened to us talk about it, I'm sure you'll join in later with your correspondence and your feedback and all that sort of thing.
Maybe it just rendered people speechless with its awesomeness.
That's entirely possible.
They were just like, I can't form sentences around what I've just witnessed.
Yeah,
so,
it was too good to comment on. And then we're going to come along and be like, right, here's 45 minutes of us commenting on it.
Yes. You enjoyed the film so much, so here's 45 minutes of us explaining to you what happens in the film that you've seen.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure everyone will love that. But that's going to be later on. First it's time for catching up with Becky and Ellie and Liam. So let's catch up. What's happened in the week since we last spoke?
Liam.
Ellie, you know how we have
that thing? Yeah, I know. You know how we have that thing where every time we have a guest on, I have to remind you that when you host this bit, or bits where you're going to ask someone a question, you need to say, like, so, catch me up, Ellie, because otherwise...
Alright, Ellie, starting from now, in all future occasions when this happens, assume I'm talking to the guest because I don't care what happens with you. Or your opinion on anything.
Fair enough.
Wow.
If I want it, I'll ask for it, Ellie.
You're much sassier in this episode than the one we lost.
Yeah. I don't know why.
What have I been up to? Let me catch you up. I went to Canada. That was great.
Ooh. How? Yeah, tell us about that for the first time.
I ate a lot of pancakes and bacon, which was great.
Together?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maple syrup. I enjoy the experience of the North American breakfast with the like salty, sweet, crispy, gooey concoctions. I'm a maple syrup on my bacon girl. I'm into it.
Yeah. Okay.
Drank a lot of really good beer. There's a good like brewing culture in Canada, so drank some really good beer. Saw Niagara Falls, which was spectacular and far exceeded my expectations. I thought, like, I've seen it on stuff like Superman 4, and obviously it looks great. Nobody's denying that, but I wasn't prepared for quite the like natural.
Did you do the little boat thing, or did you just?
We couldn't. So because it's still spring over there, and it's like right at the beginning of the season. Yeah. Like as in like the tourist season. It's still too cold, and there were massive chunks of ice like all in the water, so the boat wasn't running yet. But that was cool. We like stood up on the bit and you can kind of look over it. And then there's a like behind the falls experience. So you like go down and then kind of behind, and then you can stand like right next to it. And it's basically like it's not coming over you, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
So lots of cool photo opportunities. It was great. And didn't see any Mounties, which was probably my one disappointment.
Yeah, that's fair. Did they not have any like the airport?
None at the airport. We saw police people, but
Yeah.
no Canadian mounted police.
I've only ever seen them in the airports there, never like out in the wild.
In the wild.
What do Mounties do? I know that they're they're a type of police out there, right?
Yeah.
Do they?
Aren't they like the
picture a mountain on a
special
horse.
forces of? Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
Mounted police. So they're all.
But then
on
what are they
horses.
doing in airports?
Well, they're like iconic of Canada, right? So they were kind of there as like a welcome to Canada. Here's Canada for you. It's a Mountie.
All right, okay. They're just for show.
That is the easy shift, isn't it? Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's like the photo opportunity shift.
Oh, well, they didn't have that at Toronto Airport or Montreal Airport.
I think I've seen it at Calgary, maybe.
Did you used to watch Due South?
No.
You might be a bit young for Due South.
Nope.
So, Paul Haggis, and he's a Mountie who comes down and like joins the NYPD.
Oh, okay.
It's so good. And he's got a deaf wolf, and his dad is dead, but he comes back as a ghost, and he's played by Leslie Nielsen.
How serious of a show is
What?
this?
Oh, it's very light.
Oh, okay, cool. That makes
It's so
more
good.
sense.
Yeah, wow.
It's so good.
I've just realised we've kind of got ahead of ourselves a bit, right? Because last time we did this whole like introducing Becky as the co-host of a Point Horror podcast, which is literally the entire reason why we got her on to discuss this, and we've just jumped straight into Canada. So I'm okay with that. I love talking about Canada. Don't get me wrong; it's like one of my favourite places. But I feel like we need to just a couple of steps back. Point Horror.
Let's talk about Point Horror.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of, like North American things, it's a natural...
Very good, Liam.
Yeah. Hosted.
Really great.
Yeah. So, Becky co-hosts the Don't Point in That Horror at Me podcast, which is fantastic. And if you're listening to this, but you haven't listened to that, definitely go listen to that because, it's so good.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I'm going to do like a bad attempt at describing it and then you can describe it better. But it's basically you and your friend Jill, and each episode you cover a different Point Horror book. And I think the episodes come out once a month.
Yes, correct.
Anything? I've missed stuff. So then you've got the Becky's box office. What's it called?
Yep, that's right. Yep.
And Lip Gloss Jill's nostalgic number ones.
God, you're such a super fan.
Exactly. But yeah. So okay, time for the ultimate question. This is where it all goes wrong. Why a Point Horror podcast?
Well, I had been asked to appear as a guest on Mike Muntz's podcast, The Evolution of Horror. He asked me to go on last Halloween to talk about The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina when that dropped on Netflix. And it was my first exposure to podcasting. And I realised it's quite simple, really. And I had a little think to myself about if I were to create and host a podcast, what would I do it on? And I was sort of trying to think about stuff that like hadn't already been done and stuff that I could talk quite confidently about and really loved and could be quite sort of nostalgic about. And Point Horrors sprung to mind. So I spoke to Jill, who's my best mate, who is a bit younger than me, but was like old enough at the time to read Point Horrors, and luckily she remembered them as fondly as I did. And the rest, as they say, is history.
And you're now 4 or 5 episodes in?
5 done, and we record episode 6 day after tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you finish the book in time for episode 6?
I haven't started it yet, but it's going to be fine. And weird observation with this one, Spring Break by Barbara Steiner. It's a little... I think what they've done is they've made the font bigger to like pad it out to make it a similar size to the rest of them. Because when I first opened it, I was like, that looks big. And then I compared it to a couple of the other ones, and they definitely have. So I think I'm going to absolutely whiz through it because I think it's only technically about 25 pages long.
Yeah, fair enough. So on our last episode of Nerd on Nerd, Ellie described point horror books in a certain way.
Yes, she did.
I regret saying that point horror books are for babies.
I think you said they were just one step above picture books, Ellie.
I may have said words to that sort of general gist. Listeners, what you got to bear in mind is Liam and me are doing a side project where Liam is reading all of Goosebumps and all of Point Horror, and I may have unfairly grouped the Point Horror books in with the Goosebumps books. The Goosebumps books are for babies. Point Horror is for young adults/teens.
Quite right too.
I think that's...
Yeah.
Also, Liam's really boring. Like, when I listen to Becky and Jill talk about it, I'm like, oh wow, this book sounds amazing. And when Liam tells me it, it's all like, oh, then Jenny went to the shops.
Yeah, okay. Right, but the thing is...
Not known for his over-enthusiasm, I guess.
I have quite a monotonous voice, so I can be enthusiastic, but it doesn't necessarily come across. And also, like, I'm having to deal with Ellie just sat there constantly, like, griping and moaning, and it's a nightmare. Whereas, like, you two, when you have your podcast, you're both, like, passionate about it and, like, bouncing off of each other. Whereas I'm, like, bouncing off of a brick wall and just like, landing quite flat.
Jill and I do love to bounce off each other, that's true.
Yeah.
She's a very beautiful woman. But yeah, so we talk, we kind of, we don't take it very seriously, and we talk about, like, the books, and as you say, we do one per month, and then Jill does her nostalgic number ones, where she looks at the music that was, like, in the UK chart at the date of the book's release.
Yep.
And she's a huge 90s music, like, aficionado, and international superstar DJ. So she's sort of taken on the music curation and has made, like, a Spotify playlist and stuff to go along with it.
Yeah.
And there are some tunes that come out of that. And then, a couple of episodes ago, I thought it would be cool to introduce my box office one, which is essentially exactly the same thing, except with films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's nice, because it sort of does break up the discussion on the book, and you always, like, manage to find, like, a natural point in the book.
I know. It's weird how they do sort of drop you these little opportunities, like, then Jenny put on the put on the radio in her car,
Yeah.
and Jill will be like, oh, so what might Jenny have been listening on the radio, you know? Or they'll talk about, like, renting a video or going to the cinema or whatever, which is my little chance to kind of slide in. So I guess with it being teenagers and films and music, it's quite regular that it comes up, which is good. I don't think we've ever had one yet where we've had to just be like, okay, well, if I don't do it now, I'm not going to be able to do it, so you know. But I'm sure that's probably coming.
Yeah, like the killer's about to stab them.
yeah. But Right Said Fred were in the charts again that month, so
I recently finished reading The Boyfriend, which I'm very excited to hear you cover that, because it was interesting.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say about that. But yeah, It has, like, a perfect, like, opening where one of the characters gets stood up at a mall and they're waiting to go with their date to go see a film. So just little moments like that where it's just like,
that is
nice
so
little
perfect.
segues. Exactly.
That's ticking the old bingo squares as well. Jill created a Point Horror bingo, which is full of things.
Yeah.
Things like, you know, the mall and pizza and love interest and, like, prankster and stuff like that. So yeah, we like to work through and see how how this book that we're talking about is kind of the most quintessential, stereotypical point horror book.
I'm waiting to find out if there is going to be a book that ticks everything.
Every single one, yeah.
That would be good.
I think that would just be the day that we...
One must.
There's about... If you include the Nightmare Hall and the Point Horror Unleashed and the Point Horror Mutants, I think there's got to be about 100.
I'm sorry,
Jeez.
What is Point Horror Mutants?
Or is it Mutant Point Horror? I'd never heard of it until I started looking for these books on eBay, and apparently it was like Point Horror Unleashed, but with a more mutant-y angle. I've never seen them in the UK, these books, but they're on eBay, and I am super fascinated by everything about them.
Mutant-y like the X-Men? mutanty like the Toxic Avenger?
Toxic Avenger, it seems, from judging just purely by the covers.
Awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of point horror books.
Yeah. And actually, you mentioning your eBay hauls, I should really thank you on air for your generous efforts in helping us collect the books by basically you doing all the hard work and then us just taking all your duplicates.
Yeah, I have a tendency of accidentally sort of buying big like bulk buys of them on eBay. Like someone will be selling like 30 of them and I'll need like 10. So the 20 that I've got left over, I'll be like, hey, do you need any of these?
I know. I'm not going to lie, it's working really well for us.
Yeah, I'm going to stop doing that now because I think I've nearly completed the collection almost. I have about 70 of them at this point, I think, which is too many. It's too many.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're up to, but it's nowhere near that.
I mean, I don't know if you can see, but that's my point horror shelf with some goosebumps in front.
Bloody hell! Yeah, that's a pile.
Yeah, it's yeah. And I'm taking like a very brief little break, but I'll discuss that later from reading the point horror and goosebumps. At the moment,
yeah.
I'm doing like an actual like grown up book.
Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know what's going on. There's not been like a ridiculous cliffhanger chapter ending in any of this book so far, and I'm 6 chapters in. I don't know what to do.
It doesn't sound good. I think you should stop now.
Yeah, I need to go back. I think I've got Funhouse to read next for point horror, probably.
Funhouse was one of our faves, actually. It's good.
Okay, I've got high hopes for it then.
Yeah, it's good. I was nervous that there was going to be a lot of clown-based action, but no clowns at all, so it was fine. There's like a clown on the front cover, which is a little misleading.
Yeah. Okay. I've heard a lot about. I don't know if you remember reading this one like way back, but there's one called Camp Fear that every time I talk about point horror on Twitter, people are like, oh, I remember reading Camp Fear and it was really good. It's
one of the ones that I never read, but I was always like, I'm going to read that one next, and then a new one would come out and I'd get that one instead. But yeah, it's definitely one of the classics. Is that R.L. Stein?
Don't think it is. I think it's... I want to say, like, for some reason I got Carol Ellis in my head, but that could just be wishful thinking because I really enjoyed My Secret Admirer.
Yeah, I really like Carol Ellis. She's great.
Yeah. Shout out to Peaches, obviously. Best character so far in a point horror book.
Oh, she's the true hero of My Secret Admirer and got a lot of stick, bless her.
Oh, far too much.
Yeah, that poor dog.
Yeah. I think Carol Ellis hated Peaches almost as much as R.L. Stein just hates all animals. Because there is a trend in Goosebump books where R.L. Stein is like, they have a dog. The dog is now dead.
Oh!
Yeah.
Yeah, first ever Goosebumps book. Welcome to Dead House. He just kills the dog. Spoilers.
Oh, spoilers.
Spoilers for this book that came out in like 1990.
That would definitely tick off the old Pet in Peril bingo square as well.
Yes, it would. Have you noticed, like, reading these books now? I know it's a thing that you've mentioned, like, now and again on the podcast, but have you noticed how there's certain elements that wouldn't quite fly if they were being written in modern times?
Yeah. We've noticed a couple of those elements. Firstly, there's a lot of gaslighting that goes on. So it's always a heroine. Like, it's never like a male protagonist. And I think in every single one that we've done an episode on so far, there'll be at least one point of the book, but it actually quite often is like a thread running through it, that they will be claiming that they have seen something, or that something has happened, or that this person is acting strangely, and literally everybody else around them will just be like, nah, you're imagining it.
Yeah.
So
it happens way too often.
So often.
And it's like, it's so frustrating as a reader because you're like, right, I've read them witnessing this thing, and now I've read them telling people that they've witnessed this thing, and I'm reading these people being like, nah, I don't believe you.
Yeah, that's so true, actually. I hadn't thought about it in the way of like, well, we witness it, so it's almost like they're doubting us as well. I think that's why I found it so frustrating.
Yeah.
There's got to be one, right, where the whole book, like, I feel like somewhere in the middle of the whole series there needs to be a book where you get the exact opposite, where people are like gaslighting them, you guys are reading it being like, this is ridiculous, I've seen it all, and then at the end they're just like, yep, maybe not.
Yeah. Like a real like unreliable narrator type story.
Yeah.
To be honest, I feel if that wasn't April Fool, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, that's...
So, there is one called Amnesia.
Yeah, there is.
So like maybe, if it's not that one, I don't know. Which of the books do you like most vividly remember reading when you were younger?
So there's a couple. So The Cheerleader and Return of the Vampire. So we did Cheerleader, I think was our second episode, which was one of my just absolute faves as a kid. And yeah,
did it hold up?
Yes, yeah, it did actually.
Cool.
I really liked it. And we've got Return of the Vampire, which is the sequel. And there is a third one, which I wasn't aware of when I was a kid, because if I was, I would have snapped that right up. Yeah. It's possible it was maybe released like a little bit later, like after maybe I'd finished, like I'd stopped reading them. I don't know. Anyway,
yeah.
So I haven't read that, so I'm looking forward to that one. And then
which one's that?
It's called. I'm sure it's also got vampire in the title.
Okay, I'm trying to remember which one's
like
the vampire
Shadow of the Vampire or something like that, I think.
Okay.
Or I could be completely 100% in the wrong ballpark, but
it's all right. No one's going to fact check you. It's fine.
No.
I don't know. You know what the internet's like.
Yeah, we don't have that many listeners.
Oh.
No.
Okay, good. I'm going to say whatever the fuck then.
Yeah. Pressure's off.
And yeah, the other ones that really I remember are Halloween Night and Halloween Night 2.
Which were R.L. Stein.
Yeah, and there's a bit in Halloween Night with like a pumpkin that properly shat me up as like a 13-year-old, 13-year-old reading it. Like proper, too scared to sort of turn the lights off, freaked out.
Okay.
So I'm really looking forward to rereading that one, and we're going to double bill Halloween Night and Halloween Night 2 in October for very obvious reasons.
Something else we should mention is the way that you're covering these books is you're sort of doing them quite thematically. So like April Fools came out in April, Spring Break in May. Is it coming out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whereas I'm just reading them like chronologically. It's like I'm doing all of the 1991 books, and it's probably not the best way of doing it.
Liam can't look at a list without doing it chronologically. Liam is fundamental. Like honestly,
fucking
if
love
you
a
try and
list.
get him to do something out of order. Well, I think the first year of this podcast, there was a running thing where I kept threatening, because we do like on your birthday, you're allowed to give the other person whatever you want for culture.
Oh, nice.
And I just threatened to do like film 2 of something, and Liam hates it. That's Liam's nightmare.
It really is.
Me being like, you have to only do film 2. You can't do film 1.
That is hilarious.
Would not like that. No.
On this video call, you look genuinely uncomfortable. Like
just the thought of it is just like, no, that's horrible.
Do you when you're adjusting the volume on your TV, do you have to have it on like an even number or a 0 or a 5 number? Have you got any?
It's got to be either 0, 2, or 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine has to be 0 or 5. But if it's not 0 or 5, it has to be even.
Oh, okay.
Ellie?
Yeah. I can imagine Ellie just doesn't care.
Of course she doesn't. Look at her.
Like, yeah.
Oh.
I do whatever.
0 fucks given.
Sometimes I turn it all the way up, and then
leave the room.
The only point horror book that I have like really distinct memories of, where I could actually like probably say this was the plot. Most of them, not a clue what the plot is. Like I read so many of them, can't recall any of them. But the Forbidden Game series, especially the first one, and I remember the actual plot to that.
Bloody hell! Because I don't think even with The Cheerleader, which I reread, that that was one of the ones when I was younger that I read more than once. And even with that, like I remembered a couple of the real sort of big points, but I wouldn't have been able to sit down beforehand and like tell you the plot. And that one I was quite familiar with. So most of them, even ones that I read, are like they really are a surprise. And I'm like, oh, this is nonsense.
Yeah, I think we might have discussed this in one of our previous recordings, Ellie. But I felt like with Goosebumps, one, they're a lot shorter, but two, they're more like based around like an idea, so you kind of remember what a Goosebumps book is about, because you're like, oh, it'll be about the one where it's the monster blood that expands, or it's about the creepy talking dummy. So like you remember like the big things, whereas with point horror, it's so far in reading them, they've mostly been like whodunits, and it's really hard to like actually remember those sort of like stories, because it is essentially there is someone terrorizing someone else. Who is it?
Yeah, basically.
Also, also like the from what you tell me, because again I haven't read any of them. Like from what you tell me, it almost seems like the reveal is also almost like a minor part of the book. Like it happens right at the end, and it's like you find out who it is, and then it gets resolved quite quickly. Usually,
Yeah.
It's nearly always
So,
like the second from last chapter, and then the last chapter is just wrapping everything up.
Yeah. So it's almost like not, even though it is a big plot point, I can see why that wouldn't be the thing that sticks in your mind. Whereas, you know, other parts maybe you're like, oh yeah, I remember that, because it's such a weird, like especially when they do something that's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why I remember the Forbidden Game, because that is it's another one where it's like a concept. It's about these kids that buy a board game and they have to draw little like avatars of themselves. Essentially, they use to play this board game, which is like a paper house they have to build, and then they have to also draw what their nightmares are. And then somehow they get sucked into the game and they have to go around this house like confronting their nightmares.
It's called Jumanji.
That's not quite Jumanji.
That sounds fucking brilliant.
It's really
It
good.
also sounds really creepy.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. It's really good.
Because I think what we're going to do with Forbidden Game is start, because like I think at the end of this year we'll do a little break.
Yeah.
So we'll have done like 12 episodes, which will actually be more than 12 books because we might do a couple of double bills.
Yeah.
And then I think we'll have a little break, and then I think when we come back with season 2, we will start with Forbidden Game 1, 2, 3.
Oh, are you going to do all three in one episode, or
No, I doubt it.
okay?
I don't think we could do 3 books. I mean, if we do one book, our episodes are like 2.5 hours long. So
Yeah.
yeah, unless somebody's willing to plug in for like a 24-hour just marathon.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's. I mean, even just recording that would be a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, I feel like we've sufficiently talked about point horror. Unless there's anything else about point horror you want to discuss.
It's literally, this is all Liam wanted from this episode. Like, that's Liam done now. He's just like, yeah, cool.
I can just
episode's done.
tune out.
I spoke about point horror.
Yeah, hand over to Ellie now. You can host the rest.
Great.
No, Liam.
Okay, cool. All right. Ellie, what have you been up to?
I don't remember.
Yeah, what? But just talk about what you've been up to in the last week then. Like, since we last recorded, what have you been up to?
Oh, loads of stuff. All that stuff.
So you cleaned Sheldon's cage.
Keldon. I cleaned out my lizard Keldon.
Yeah. So his cage is now nice and sparkly, right?
Spotless.
Yeah.
Totally spotless.
You edited the Captain Marvel episode that you said you were going to do.
100% edited
So
that.
that was your weekend
All
done.
I didn't do it. The Captain Marvel one. And that reason is...
Cool. Looking forward to this.
Or the cage?
I did.
Or
I
you
did.
actually
I've not
do the
fully
cage?
cleaned his cage, but I've cleaned out the stuff that I was ashamed of.
Okay.
So,
All
It's
right.
not good. There shouldn't be stuff that you're ashamed
well, he
of
was
in your
quite.
lizard's
He was
cage.
quite dirty. Like, not him. Some of the areas of his cage were a little bit. I don't want to. I'm gonna get like. I'm making this sound worse than it is.
It's fine. Liam and I have both. You showed us Sheldon
He is alive and
earlier.
well.
He looked.
Yeah.
He looked very healthy.
He looked alive.
He is alive. No. What did I do this weekend? I did. I was out. What was I doing? There was a reason that I didn't edit the Captain Marvel special, and I can't remember what it was. I definitely did something this weekend.
Farmer's market.
No.
Oh, I can't picture Ellie at a farmer's
We
market.
did one farmer's market once where I went to visit. I went to visit Kat and Liam, and 2 of our other uni friends were like, "Oh, let's go to a farmer's market." And it was me as the lonely 5th wheel with 2 couples wandering around a farmer's market. There is nothing more depressing
No.
than being the 5th wheel while your
That's-
couple friends are like, "Look at this jam."
That was just a farm.
Oh,
shop
it's
that we
similar. I imagine a farmer's market's just a farm shop, but with more stalls.
But it's just outside.
So much worse.
You're right, though. That is literally the most depressing thing I've ever
Yeah,
heard.
it was
So
super depressing.
I'm sorry I brought it up.
It's like, it's just a little part of Ellie's life.
Yeah, I haven't done much. I went and had a breakfast. That was it. At a shop.
What?
Had a breakfast.
At
A
shop.
restaurant. I'm struggling. My brain hurts.
Alright, okay. Should we just move on?
I've done nothing exciting. This is the thing. I can't fabricate excitement, Liam.
Yeah, no, I very rarely do exciting things, but I still bore the listeners by talking about all the shit I've done
skip
that isn't exciting. I don't. I looked after the dog this weekend.
Yeah, again.
Where were Mum and Dad?
They went to, I think it's called Rock the Moor, which is like an outdoor music festival
Is this...
that they go to with their friends.
last time we recorded this episode, you had just looked after the dog as well, right? Is this the same thing? Or has your mum now done 2 cool things?
No, she's now done 2 cool
Your mum's
things.
so much cooler than you.
I've forgotten what the first cool thing was.
She went on holiday, right?
I think she went... Yeah. I can't remember where to, but
cool.
she went on holiday to somewhere.
And now they've been to a...
Bruges. I think it was maybe Bruges.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Chips.
Yeah. I end up keep having to look after the dog, which I don't mind looking after him because he's old now, so he's quite chilled. Yeah. But I never get like a good amount of sleep looking after him. Like I don't get like a solid like 8 hours. I get like 4 hours, and then he wakes me up, and then I might get like another 2 hours, and then he wakes me up again, and then maybe like an hour.
Why don't you just shut your bedroom door?
Oh no. Okay. Right. So the thing you have to know about Bailey, he likes
strong name for a dog, by the way.
It's a good dog name.
I wanted to call him Rumble, and I got outvoted.
Rumble?
I thought Rumby. Yeah, Rumby would be a nice little nickname for him.
Glad you didn't get a say.
But anyway, yeah, no, I didn't. He is a dog that likes to just see you. He always likes to see you. So like, if you go into the bathroom or whatever, he likes if the door's open, so we can just sort of peek around and be like, oh, that's where you are. Cool, I can settle now. If he can't see you, he gets really restless and agitated, and if you do like go to the bathroom, for example, and shut the door, then you just hear him whining outside the door.
The funny thing is that Liam and this dog are so similar. So whenever Liam is talking about the dog and says these kind of things, I like to picture like, do I think Liam would do the same thing? And 100%, I can picture Kat trying to go to the bathroom and Liam just standing outside being like, Kat, Kat.
There have been times where I've been like trying to talk to her, and she's like, I'm in the bathroom, and I'm like, oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't realise.
You are so similar to this dog, and it is beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't not sleep without him in the bedroom, because otherwise he would just whine or bark or howl. It took my parents about 18 months of figuring out that he needs to be in the same room as them. They initially tried sleeping with him downstairs. They didn't get any sleep because he howled all night. And then obviously, because he's a dog, he can then just sleep all day, so he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Then eventually they let him sleep on like... So the way their stairs work is like a little bit in the middle of the stairs where it sort of like goes up and then changes direction. That's how you explain stairs. Sure. So he was sleeping on that bit.
I think it's called a landing.
No, that's like the bit where like the hallway, isn't it?
That's also a landing, but I think, yeah.
That's also a landing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this is a mini landing.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, so I used to try with him sleeping on that, and they had like a baby gate. That didn't work. Then I tried just him outside the bedroom door. That didn't work. So now he sleeps in their bedroom with the bedroom door open, so if it gets too hot for him, he can go and just lie in the bathroom where it's cooler.
He sounds like a fucking hero.
Oh, he's such a little pampered princess. It's ridiculous. So obviously then, like, when he stays here, he has a certain expectation that I have to meet. So I don't... Yeah, Kat was away this weekend as well. She went to Hastings with her mum, so it was just me and the dog, and I did not get enough sleep, and I like my sleep. So that was my weekend.
Yeah, I was distressed when you were describing the 4 hours wake up 2 hours situation. That is hellish.
Yeah, and the problem is he's a big dog, so I'm like lying on bed on
bed.
On bed, and he's big enough that he can just walk over and just like stick his wet nose like either in my face if I'm facing that way, or like the back of my neck if I'm facing the other way.
Yeah,
that wakes you up quite quickly.
Yeah, it would do.
Yeah. And the other thing he does is he'll lick himself, and he'll do it loud enough that it woke me up. And that's not nice.
I get that with my husband sometimes.
That's flexible. But the good thing about this weekend is, because Kat was away and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to treat myself, I brought a Nintendo Switch.
So, back to the needy thing, you were so upset that Kat went away for a couple of days that you needed to treat yourself with some expensive technological kit. Okay, all right.
I had my eye on it for a while, and Kat was like, oh, is that a sensible use of money? And then she went away, and I went, well, there's no one now asking me these sort of questions. Let's go and buy it at Sainsbury's. That was a nightmare, sidebar. Buying, like, electrical devices at Sainsbury's.
Liam is so... I don't know if people... Becky, have you ever bought any of the... Yeah, either electrical stuff from Sainsbury's or, like, a video game? I don't know if they do it with movies, or are they in the box?
Yeah, I think they do. No, I don't think they do. Oh, actually, yeah, they might be on those, like, big old...
Yeah, basically, where you have to take it up to the checkout, and then the person is, like, either like, oh, someone will go and get it for you. You just need to pick it up from customer services, or if you're lucky, they'll go do it if it's not busy. Liam has apparently never experienced this before, and was so annoyed. Like, I genuinely thought, I was like, wow, what could have caused Liam to be so upset about them selling electronics? And it's literally just they went and got it from the back, and it slightly hindered his day.
Where I used to live, the local Tesco's had an electrical counter. So if you had to buy an electronic thing, you just go there and they just sorted it out very quickly. Here, I'm not joking, from the moment I picked it up off the shelf to the moment I walked out of the shop with it, 40 minutes
That is a long time.
That is actually genuinely really bad.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, so hence why I was livid.
That's fair enough. I'll allow it.
40 minutes is allowed to be livid, I reckon.
Yeah, and that was like, so I'd already done my shopping first. I was like, oh, this won't take long. So already done my shopping, and then, like, literally all I did was pick it up, take it to a checkout, 40 minutes.
That is insane. What were they doing?
Yeah. The guy in front of me at the checkout was just taking ages. Absolutely ages. The guy serving him was having a right old natter. And then he got to me, and it's just like, oh, I need to call someone over. So I didn't even get to have a chat. I was like, oh, this will be good. I can practice my small talk, because it's something I need to get better at for work. I'm not good at it. Didn't get to
What's
practice
your
it.
job?
I'm a project manager.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a lot of talking to people. And, like, it's a lot of, like, at the moment, I try and log on to a meeting, like, a couple of minutes before it starts. And if other people do the same, then it's expected that you do a bit of small talk. And once I'm, like, blown through the weather, I don't know what else to do. It's really bad.
You should tell them your buying experience of a Wii at Sainsbury's story.
I don't know if it makes me come across well.
I don't know. I think that's the twisteroo. That's what's going to really get them in. Because also, Ellie and I didn't think that you were very good or reasonable about your anger. But then you drop the 40-minute bombshell, and everyone's like, oh, well.
Yeah. You hook them in because they're like, oh, what a dickhead. And then you go, I had to wait 40 minutes. And they go, oh, no, sympathetic.
Oh.
So you know what would happen, though? What would happen is I'd get up to that point, and then the time for the meeting would start before I could do the twisteroo. So they'd just be like, what a dickhead. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was my weekend. Oh, and we discussed this last time. Went to IKEA. Meatballs, they're shit.
Liam doesn't like IKEA meatballs, which is maybe controversial. Possibly.
Well,
no, okay.
I mean, it's not controversial with me. I've never had an IKEA meatball, so I can't put any sort of worthwhile contribution into this discussion at all, I'm afraid.
Have you ever had a meatball that you were like, oh, that was awesome?
No.
We sometimes make, like, meatballs with chorizo, and it's good, but I'm never like, oh, what a wonderful meatball that was.
To be fair,
I find them texturally challenging.
Yeah,
so bolognese, because they're essentially, like, say you have, like, spaghetti and meatballs, it's essentially like bolognese, except the meat, which is usually sprinkled evenly throughout the sauce, has just been smushed into, like, these little rock-like balls.
Yeah.
And so what I tend to do whenever I get meatballs is immediately cut them up and turn them into mince. So it's completely pointless.
It's just making more work for you before you can actually start eating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which I disagree with.
that's fair.
Yeah, no, I 100% support that. Yeah. If Kat would cut up my dinner for me, I wouldn't say no, but she refuses.
Fucking hell.
So, we did things, and now we're going to do spoiler-free reviews of the things that we did at the things
Very
we did.
good, Liam.
Did
Smooth, elegant, professional.
There was literally a part there where I felt like I was malfunctioning.
Oh God, he's glitched. Push the button behind his ear.
Yeah. Ellie, do you want to go first so I can talk about Zac Efron?
Oh, right, yeah, sure. I watched a movie called, and I've made the same mistake I made in the first recording of this episode, I have not got the name up. Shockingly...
No.
Very, very mean.
No.
Extremely
the
wicked.
The best thing about this is both me and Becky
shockingly
could help
evil
you.
and
Yeah?
vile. That was
Well
quicker than
done.
last time.
You got it
Yeah,
quicker
nice.
this time than last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically a film. It's a film by a guy who's done a documentary series on Netflix, right? Which I don't know the name. Oh, the Ted Bundy tapes. That's it.
Tapes.
The guy that made that has also directed a film which sort of looks at the Ted Bundy stuff, but from the perspective of an ex-girlfriend of his who he was sort of obsessed with. And it's weird because I feel like if you're interested in the Ted Bundy stuff because you're like, oh, I'm fascinated by the case, you're going to want to watch the documentary, right? And if you're interested
100%.
in watching like a story film, maybe don't watch a film about Ted Bundy. I don't know.
Why not?
It's weird because it's the way the film portrays him. You're seeing it from her perspective, so like you're not seeing a lot of the bad stuff. So I don't know. It's really difficult because if someone said to me, I think that film's offensive because it's portraying him in this good light, even though I know it's not, and you hear about the bad stuff, I would be like, I get it. I get what you're saying. But also, I would get if someone said, no, it isn't. It's telling the story from her perspective, and it isn't a bad idea. I'd also be like, I get that. So I don't know.
I 100% understand what you're saying. I feel the same way.
I haven't seen the film, which is shocking. How is Zac Efron in it?
I think he was good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Do you think this like potentially marks a new direction for his career to go in?
I'm not really aware of his previous direction, so...
He was more... he started as like that proper like childhood actor, right, doing Disney stuff. Then he sort of...
Well, like teen heartthrob type
Then he's
thing,
recently
right?
done a lot of comedy stuff.
Yeah, sort of like frat boy comedy.
I'm the cool guy, but it's hilarious because I don't know what I'm talking about or whatever. Whereas, this is a way different role to anything I've seen him in before.
I think it's the first film I've seen him in.
Fair.
And I thought I've seen a very small section of Baywatch and decided it wasn't for me.
Don't insult these films, Becky. Liam is a super fan of Zac Efron. You've got to be careful here. You're going to trigger him.
I know. I listened to the last episode. I'm aware. I'm not slacking it off. I'm saying it wasn't for me.
No, that's fine. And the thing is, right, I'm not the only super fan. We have another listener that has become a super fan of Zac Efron. So we're out there. There's several of us.
We're out there. Yeah. But no, he's excellent as Bundy.
Okay.
I think so. The thing about like serial killers and people with whether Ted Bundy was a narcissist or a psychopath or a sociopath or whatever, or all of the above, I don't know. But you know that charm that he had in real life tends to sort of, I think, run quite. It's often manifests in psychopaths, that like charm that you can kind of draw people in, but so much of that also comes down to like you don't feel really or understand human emotions, like a lot of human emotions, and so I kind of wanted him to just be more dead behind the eyes, and that it would be more obvious that he was somebody who was faking human emotions really well. But for me, it didn't do that. It just seemed like they actually were painting in him in more of a like genuinely attractive way, like he had like redeemable qualities, which he fucking 100% didn't, because he killed like at least 30 women brutally, and like, you know, I mean, so I would have liked to have seen him a bit more like he's faking it. But then the point that Ellie made is that you are supposed to be seeing it through the eyes of this girlfriend, so are you seeing him more sympathetically because that's the way that she feels about him?
That's what makes it so difficult.
But then
but you're right though, because there is a scene in it where you do get that like that specific. He goes to the dog shelter. I don't know if you remember him and her go. And there is a moment there where they do that perfectly, where like from her perspective, you're seeing him be this really sweet, like, let's live in a house together. And then there's just this moment where she like looks away, and you get him just dead eye, like fucking staring at this dog that just is barking at him, and then just goes ooh. And I was like, that's good. That works.
More of that.
Like bits. Because that's how you do it. It's short, like you'd think they'd tie more of those little scenes in where like she's in a situation with him where you can see that she doesn't see the bad part, but they still show the audience and go, don't forget, he's a fucking psychopath.
They sort of needed more of the don't forget bits, I thought.
Okay. I will watch it if it ever comes out on Blu-ray or Netflix, whatever, but I don't have Sky.
Because
so
when I was in Canada, they had it on Netflix Canada. So, I mean, it must be coming onto UK Netflix. It must be.
Yeah, I'm hoping like once it runs out on Sky
Yeah, I don't know how
Cinema,
long it's on there
They
for.
typically only keep things for so long, right? Yeah. So hopefully then it'll get onto Netflix and then I can finally watch it and it'll be glorious, I'm sure.
Black. I was checking the like new releases on Sky the other night, and Black Klansman's just dropped, which I'm very
That's a
excited
good
about
film.
because I didn't see it at
Yeah,
the
same.
cinema. So stuck that straight on my watch list, and I'm very excited to give that a bash.
That is. I haven't watched like a lot of Spike Lee stuff in the past. I've seen like a couple of his films, but that was really good. Yeah,
I'm
highly
excited.
recommend. What would you both give Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile out of 5?
I think a 3.5. I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm going to say 2.75.
Okay. So slightly above average.
Yeah, maybe 3.
Yeah, have I gone
Nudging a 3.
in my head? I don't think.
Okay.
I think maybe I'm a 3 as well, because I think I was thinking just above average, and then when you said, "Oh yeah, 2.75 is just above average," I was like, "Oh yes, I have gone."
To be
a whole
fair,
point over.
I was thinking about the way you rate things, Ellie. The way I rate things, I do put 3 as average.
I'm so confused by our rating system.
So's everyone. Okay, Becky, do you want to go next?
Sure. I've been playing something which is unusual, actually. A few months ago, my friend Stu sent me a text message and said, "Do you want to come to Coco in Camden tonight for the launch of Mortal Kombat 11?" And I was like, "Is there going to be free booze there?" And he said yes. And I was like, "See you there, buddy." Yeah. And we turned up and there were like ice sculptures of Sub-Zero, and there were all of these like models dressed as the characters, like the fighters and stuff. And I've played Mortal Kombat in the past, but I've never owned a copy. So I've only ever played it like when you go over to a friend's house and they've got it, and you do some classic button bashing until you're in too much pain to do any more, and then you kind of go home and you forget about it for another few weeks. So I don't know a lot about like the characters and stuff like that. I just know that it's like the super violent one that everybody used to bitch about, and like, well, the media and teachers and stuff used to bitch about.
Yeah.
But Stu, my friend, and I were at Coco, and they had like gamers there sort of doing like live battles, and they were broadcasting them on the screens like all around the club, and they would introduce like all the cutscenes which were doing all the cool like story bits and stuff, and I was like, this looks fucking great. Like I was really sort of drawn in, and fair enough, I had like 3 or 4 free ciders by this point, but still. So I mentioned this to the husband, who owns an Xbox, and then came home the other night, and there's a little progress bar pootling along the old TV screen because he's downloading it. Nice. So we've been playing a bit of Mortal Kombat 11. It's been really fun. The special moves where you kind of shoot like a grappling hook through someone's chest and then create a space portal behind them and then push them through the space portal, and then they come through another portal and you're waiting there for them and you like kick them in the face. I love all that. That's great. The graphics are good. There's a lot of blood. I'm into it. Like all the goriness. We've got the slight problem that Dave, my husband, stays up a lot later than I do, and he's been practicing. So what was initially quite a fun little activity for the two of us to do together has turned into him handing my ass to me every single time. So I'm just going to have to do a bit of tutorial, bit of story mode maybe, and get good, and then I'll be able to put up a bit more competition for him. But at the moment, it's a bit like box set cheating. He's like run away with it. It's really unfair.
Like, that's what always seems to happen.
Always the issue with those sort of games.
Yeah, like I remember having, like as a kid, Super Smash Bros coming out and having friends that were like, "Oh, this seems like a really fun Nintendo game where we can all fight." And then like, you know, a year later, you're going around their house and they're like, "Oh, here's my ultra cool dodging abilities where I can dodge every move you ever do." And also they're like, "Oh, let's turn all the fun modes off and just have a straight up fight on the flattest stage because that's how cool we are." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to play this game because you're going to win."
Yeah.
Quite right.
Yeah, I discovered this weekend actually, Ellie, she does not like losing at games.
Oh, what
Who did? Quick question.
Ellie.
Liam, who do you know who likes losing at games?
There are certain games, I don't like them, but like they are designed to make you lose, which we've discussed in the past, games like Bloodborne and that
Yep.
sort of thing.
Doesn't sound like my sort of thing
No,
at
they're
all.
very stressful.
No, I mean the thing is, right, depending on the game, I don't mind the losing if I'm having a good time.
Same.
That's beautiful.
No, Ellie, you were getting very
I was
moody.
very angry
What were
over
you
the
playing?
weekend because we were playing a card game and it was being very unfair. Here's my issue. If I'm playing a game and part of it comes down to chance, then I will inevitably get annoyed if I lose and part of me is like, there was unfair, like the chance I lost because some random roll somewhere decided that I wouldn't get what I needed to win. That's what.
Were you playing? Is it computers?
Yeah, we were playing Magic the Gathering on.
We weren't playing like against each other. We were just talking while playing. You were playing other people.
Yeah. I was playing random strangers on the internet, and it was just annoying. It was annoying.
It was so funny listening to it because Ellie was getting very moody. And I was just there like, oh, this is fun. Like, I was also playing and losing, but I was like, oh no, I feel like I'm learning while I'm doing this. Ellie did not.
Well,
feel that way.
my problem is part of my problem as well is I'm not an expert at Magic, obviously, because I don't play it very much. But like I know enough that when I fuck up, I'm like, oh, I fucked that up and like messed something up. So when it's a mixture of chance, me looking back and being like, well, I sort of titted myself over by not doing this one thing, like. I just get annoyed because I'm annoyed at myself, I'm annoyed at the game, and I'm annoyed at the random internet stranger who's better at me at some fucking card game.
I'm gonna have to listen to that as well while I'm just still trying.
Oh, then I have to listen to you being like, I've just won my match.
That was the best bit. Anyway, we're talking about Magic too much again.
Sorry.
We spent far too long last episode talking about it. Mortal Kombat 11 out of 5.
I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 at the moment, but that's just on the like PvP bit. Yeah. I'm excited to do the story mode. But yeah, no, I really like it. It's good.
Cool. As someone that doesn't play a lot of like fighty games like that, recommend it?
Do you mean I'm somebody who doesn't play a lot of fighting games?
I'm someone that doesn't, so would you recommend it to someone like me?
I'm like you, because I don't either. So yes.
Fair enough.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I basically play Mario Kart.
That's one of the games that I bought this weekend for the Switch.
Mario Kart Switch is meant to be something really quite special.
I got the little steering wheel for it, and I hate the steering wheel. So now I just I put the controller in the steering wheel, but you can just use the little stick.
Yeah.
Just steer. So I just do that. It's great fun. What? Ellie's making faces at me.
I like that you don't like the steering wheel, but you still insist on putting the controller into the steering wheel.
I liked the accelerator button.
Okay. Yep, moving on.
I went to the cinema on Monday and saw what has just become, I think, my favourite film of the year so far, which is a little film called Booksmart.
Oh, I want to see this so badly.
I don't know if I know
It's
it.
so good. Okay, right. I don't know. Also, just side note. I don't know why it was showing on Monday because it isn't officially out until I think next week. But it wasn't an unlimited screening. It wasn't any of that. I don't know if they just did a random preview screening. But
Where was it?
Odeon
In Godalming.
in Basingstoke.
Oh, amazing Stoke.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was in all Odeons on Monday. I don't think it was specific to Basingstoke Odeon. So I don't know if it's a preview screening or I don't know. I was just pleased. I went along. I've been wanting to see it. I love me a good coming of age film. Mm-hmm. But as long time listeners will know, I've been struggling with the latest sort of Lady Bird last year. I had high hopes for and was just a bit underwhelmed. And then the year before that, you had The Edge of 17, which again, I was like, oh, this is right up my street. And then I went to see it, and I was like, can't get behind it. And we had a theory on the podcast that it might be because it was female protagonists, and I was struggling to
The theory is that Liam is
But
sexist.
this is but this was two women leading it, and I loved it. Absolutely fucking loved it. So that shoots that theory
Yeah,
out the
very good,
window.
Liam. You aren't sexist.
Yeah, this was directed by Olivia Wilde,
Yes.
and
I know her from Cowboys versus Aliens.
I know her from the OC.
I know her name.
Now I'm doubting myself. Is she in Cowboy versus Aliens?
She might be. I haven't seen Cowboy vs Aliens.
oh, you should 100% see Cowboys versus Aliens. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking to see if she is in it.
I think she's the main lady.
Yeah. Yep, she's in it.
Yeah, great.
But yeah, so this is her like directorial debut. Also, her husband, I don't know how he's landed her, but Jason Sudeikis, who, like, don't get me wrong, like, he's a good looking chap, but like there's like good looking and then there's like Olivia Wilde. Like,
is Jason Sudeikis the guy from Horrible Bosses? He's got a very square head.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, I
is
always
he
get
also
him
the guy
mixed
from
up with someone else.
Colossal? I think is he the guy from Colossal? Sorry, I'm just
Yeah, he is the guy from Colossal and
Okay,
Horrible
great.
Bosses. Yeah,
Great, yeah, him. He's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, so okay, so it's got I'm bad with pronouncing names, but I think it's Beanie Feldstein. It's one of the ladies. She was also in Lady Bird, and then it's got Caitlin Dever, who I've not really seen before. She's apparently in like The Last Man on Earth, I think it's called, or she's in like a couple of things. I've never seen anything she was in. Last Man Standing is what she was in, and Justified, and she's had like
Justified. Oh, have you ever seen Justified?
Nope.
I know that you don't need more stuff to watch, but watch Justified. Is great.
She played Loretta McCready in it, if that helps you figure out who she is.
No. No. Anyway.
Fair enough. She's just absolutely phenomenal in this film. Like, ridiculously good. I can't wait to see sort of more films from her. It has like... It's about these two girls who they've gone through high school. It's the day before graduation, and they've made a commitment to just spending high school studying and getting into good colleges. And then they realise that their peers in their sort of year group have also got into good colleges, but haven't spent every single like night just studying. They've also been having like the high school experience where they've been having parties and stuff. So like, right, we have one night before graduation, so we don't end up going to college and being like the lame people that never partied. So we have like one last night to go to a party, and that's all I'll tell you about it. It's so good. Brilliant. 4.5 out of 5.
Wow.
Also has Billie Lourd in it, who's Carrie Fisher's daughter.
And doesn't it also have Lisa Kudrow in it?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm very excited about it. I really enjoyed Lady Bird. But from what I've seen and heard about Booksmart, I think I'm going to like this more. And I think I will definitely go to the cinema to see it.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. Like, I took Kat along, and Kat... Well, neither of us had seen any trailers for it. I had like a rough idea that it was coming of agey, but Kat had no clue what it was about. We just sort of sat there and we were both just laughing along multiple times throughout and just had a great time. So yeah, highly recommend.
Fair enough.
I've literally heard universally good things. Like, I haven't heard anybody say anything negative about it. So yeah.
Yeah, I really hope it's the sort of film that is coming out against some like heavy hitters, because I think you've got like Godzilla coming out soon. This weekend you've got like Rocket Man coming out, as well as all of the like Avengers Endgame is still in cinema. Yeah. So there's like big films it's against. So I just hope it finds an audience and doesn't just sort of disappear.
Yeah, I think the buzz it's getting will probably serve it pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Ellie, your turn to do another review if you have one. I can't remember if you had more than one last time. I think I did,
but I don't remember what they were. So no, I refuse.
All right. Becky, back to you then.
I also saw my favourite film of 2019 so far.
Okay.
But it wasn't the same as your one.
Okay.
There's a film on Netflix called Someone Great.
Yeah.
And I saw on Twitter somebody said, why aren't more people talking about Someone Great? And I was like, well, I've never heard of it. And so I went and looked it up and watched it one slightly delicate Sunday afternoon after the night before. Yeah. And like a bit similar to what you were saying, really, like laughed all the way through it, like proper laugh out loud moments. It's again about a central friendship, but this time it's 3 women in New York and they're like late 20s, early 30s. Mm-hmm. And the main woman is played by
by, and I can't remember her name, but
I've just got the name up. Brittany Snow, is it?
No, she's not the main one.
Gina Rodriguez,
who plays Jane the Virgin, which I haven't seen, but is like a comedy thing. So she has just landed like her dream job, but it means that she has to move city, and her long-term boyfriend breaks up with her because he doesn't want to do long distance. And she's got these two best friends, one played by Brittany Snow, who is Chloe from Pitch Perfect, and the third woman, who again, whose name I don't know, but she plays, again on Netflix, Spike Lee remade She's Got a Habit as like a mini series.
Yeah.
And she played the lead in that.
Okay.
So like 3 really strong central performances. They've got amazing chemistry. It was the first film. So when I was a teenager, there were quite a few teenage girl films about. So even though it wasn't necessarily specifically reflecting like my life in Surrey, things like Clueless and The Craft and Heathers.
The Craft is a great film.
The Craft. You're sort of, as a teenager, you're watching these other people in like high school, secondary school, and there are elements of their lives like losing their virginity or falling in love for the first time or like getting in trouble with their parents, stuff like that you can kind of relate to. And I haven't had that experience since being a teenager of watching something that I felt that was like reflecting back kind of aspects of my life and the types of friendships that I have and the types of like things that I do on the weekend when I need to blow off steam or whatever. And it just made my heart swell, and it was brilliant. I fucking loved it. It's so funny. The soundtrack absolutely bangs as well. It's just great. Highly recommended. 4.5 stars out of 5.
Fair.
So I hadn't heard of this until you mentioned it last time.
Yeah.
And then I watched an interview with Taylor Swift on Ellen, and she also was saying this was her favourite film that she's seen lately.
Wow.
So
do we respect Taylor Swift's opinion on these matters?
I love Taylor Swift.
Great.
We do love Taylor Swift on this podcast.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what her film taste is generally like, but she liked this.
Well, and me, we agree on this
exactly.
one.
It's the second time now I've heard high praise for this.
Yeah, highly recommended. And it's a really easy watch as well. Like I say, I sort of, Saturday afternoon, bung it on, looks good, sounds good, it's really fun. Just, I loved it.
Fair enough. I have a TV show to do that I know Ellie has also seen. Becky, I'm not sure about yourself. It depends how much you've been following along with like pop culture. But Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Season 8. That finished.
What did you think?
Okay, full disclosure, I haven't read the books.
Okay.
So only ever watched the shows. Wasn't a huge fan of the last season. Kind of felt it was a bit rushed, a bit like hasty. Characters were fast travelling a bit too much. And then this season had some really good moments, but like just moments. It didn't feel like it came together cohesively. There were just scenes that were like, oh, this will look cool, let's do that. But then it doesn't necessarily work in like a tapestry, if that makes sense.
Did you choose tapestry because it's medieval?
Yeah.
That was lovely.
Thematic.
Nice attention to detail.
Yeah, what did you both think?
I have read all the books. Not that that's hugely relevant to what goes on in the show, because I think it deviated quite a while ago, didn't it? I watched the first, maybe 2, definitely 2. What season's The Red Wedding in?
Yeah.
3.
Okay, well, in that case I didn't see 3. So I definitely watched seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I thought they were fine, but obviously didn't think they were fine enough that I kind of we were travelling when season 3 came out, which is why we didn't watch that. And then by the time we got back from travelling, it had kind of all just moved on a bit far, and I was like, I can't really be bothered to catch up. And I'd already read all the books.
This is like, I think since maybe Breaking Bad a few years back, this is the one time where like I've gone to work and people at work have pretty much unanimously been talking about this. So like, how have you managed to just like not get involved?
Well, I don't have Sky, for starters.
Yeah, no, we don't. We found it.
Do you want me to cut that bit out, Liam?
I don't know, because I've got a film watch list that is over 600 movies long, and
That must be nice.
and I really, really like rewatching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and there's a lot of other stuff on that I watch, and I just didn't have room in my life for also Game of Thrones. And I like it when other people talk about Game of Thrones, like in the office and stuff, because I know like who all the characters are, because I've read them. I can still kind of get involved to a certain extent. I'll be like, oh, no way, like, what happened then? And in fact, on the day after the big finale, I had my work colleague Beth explain to me like what had happened in the end and who ended up on the throne and who got killed and like what happened to Tyrion, what happened to Bran, and so like she kind of told me all of it, and that was a nice experience. I enjoyed it.
Fair enough.
Ellie, what did you think?
It was, this whole season's just been like very, what's the word for when the cinematography's really good? Very cinematic.
Cinematic?
Yeah, there we go, got there. This whole season has been like very cinematic, and you can see that they got a bigger budget, and the fact they condensed it into less episodes, you can see that they then spent that on making it look really fucking cool. And there's like definitely like emotional stuff. It's just that the overall story was disappointing.
Was there though?
Well,
what bits were emotional.
Unfortunately, Liam, asking me for specifics on a
know we can't
podcast
do
where we don't do
spoilers.
spoilers is difficult.
But like, can you give me an episode number?
The second to last episode. Third to last. No, second to last.
Oh, when it all kicks off. Yeah, it wasn't that emotional.
No, yeah, but you're a fucking robot, Liam. Don't look as shocked and offended.
Alright.
You know you don't have human emotions.
Yeah, no, I know, but like,
He's like Ted Bundy.
Yes, exactly.
yeah. What did you think about how it ended? Obviously, without doing spoilers, which is like
Disappointing.
good, bad, indifferent,
Yeah.
underwhelming, right? Like, so many things it felt like had been very deliberately placed down in earlier seasons to be picked up later that were just forgotten.
But then
about.
the other problem I have is I don't want to get chucked in with all the people that are like super angry, because there's like this big divide online where you've got all the people that are like, I hated everything, and then you've got the people who are like,
Remake season 8.
and then you've got the people who are like the opposites, who are like, well, fuck all those guys, I loved it. And I'm like, I don't think either of you are right. I think it was just like, I get why it's like this, so I'm not annoyed, because they had a definite end and they didn't have enough time to cram everything in there, so they had to give us something. I think if there had been more, we'd have all ended up hating it because it would have dragged on too long, and everyone would have been going, why are there 15 seasons of Game of Thrones? So like, no one was ever going to be happy. So like, I get it. I'm just annoyed. I'm just upset because I would have liked it to have ended really well. It didn't, but that's fine.
That's the thing, right? To me, it didn't end how I would have thought a Game of Thrones show would end. Like, the things that make Game of Thrones when you think about it, kind of felt a bit forgotten by the last season.
Too little incest.
Are you able to say what those things are without spoiling?
Not enough incest.
Well, yeah, so like the typical thing with Game of Thrones, right, is it's always wrong-footing you, right? So like in the first season, you have like one of the main characters gets killed, very shockingly. And then, so I think I read like ages ago, like the author saying this is how he planned it. So once you have that main like good character die, the next logical thing is for their like heir to take up the mantle and be the good character that everyone gets behind. So obviously then they have to die as well, and that keeps the audience guessing. By the time we got to this like last season, it didn't feel like there was any of that like trickery going on, where as an audience you're like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen next. It was like, you maybe couldn't tell exactly how it's going to end, but equally how it did end, I wasn't like, oh, I'm really surprised by that. I wasn't seeing that come in. It was just like, it ended with a whimper.
It does sound underwhelming from what my friend Beth described to me. She told me who, this might be a bit, no, it's fine. She basically told me the ending and who and stuff, and I was like, oh, really? Yeah. Like, it was just a bit like, oh,
that's literally how it felt watching it as well, was, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. But there were moments in the season I did really like that. Like the whole Battle of Winterfell episode was really well done. And the episode before that felt very much back like classic Game of Thrones, where it was a whole episode of just characters talking and plotting and all that sort of thing, which I think we massively missed out on last season.
Was it, though? Wasn't the episode before that not very plotting and just a bunch of characters all sitting together talking very friendly? I don't think there was much plotting this season at all. I think classic Game of Thrones would be everyone sitting in a room and you knowing that every single one of those people was about to betray someone else or fuck someone else over, whereas that episode was very much just a bunch of people sitting down being like, I haven't seen you for 3 seasons, how are you? And then being like, I'm fine.
That's the other thing, right? Is they've spent so long setting up this big threat, and then they
we can't. We're now. I think we are getting a little bit spoilery.
That's not spoilers.
No, that is a little bit.
That's not spoilers.
Because everyone who knows Game of Thrones would know exactly what you're talking about. So that is spoilery.
And they'd have seen it, so it doesn't matter. People that haven't seen it wouldn't know what I was talking about, so it wouldn't be a spoiler to them.
We'll see how my editing goes on that one. Out of 5, like a 2.5, completely average.
Oh, I've gone higher. I went 3.5 because there are still moments I liked. I still enjoyed watching it. It just wasn't the heights of early Game of Thrones.
It was also a pretty sexist season, so 2.5.
3.5 definitely.
What, more sexist than other?
Imagine Game of Thrones, and then Game of Thrones being like, "Hey, remember how we were empowering women a little bit? Let's not do that."
There was some, wasn't there?
How about every stereotype that women have? Let's have all them happen.
Becky, have you got anything else to review?
No, not really. Just wanted to say that I like that you guys like Taskmaster because I like Taskmaster too.
Yep.
Taskmaster is very good.
Mm-hmm. I need to watch more of it. I need to
and I'm glad it's
actually
back.
watch the seasons.
I haven't seen the new stuff yet, but we're working through it. Like we said earlier, I have to do things in order. So
right,
we're on season 5, I think, or 6.
Who are the contestants in the one that you're watching?
Oh, Lisa Tarbuck.
She's my favourite ever contestant. You're so lucky.
And is this the same one where it's got Tim Vine in it? I think.
Yes, and the guy from People Just Do Nothing.
Yeah, I don't really know who he is, but yeah, and it's got I think she's a radio DJ on Radio 1. I really like her. I can't remember her name. She's got
Alice
hair.
Levine. I love Alice Levine.
Yeah, she's really good.
I can't remember her.
I think that's everyone that's on it. Or there might be another person that I'm missing. But yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying it. We watched the Champion of Champions season not too long ago. It was only like 2 episodes, which was a bit of a joke.
Oh.
But otherwise, I love the idea of doing it. And I hope that they get to... I think I did the maths a previous time. If they do 35 seasons and they do like a champion of champion for each of the seasons, they can then do a champion of champions season where it's all the champion of champions.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they're going to get there. It would be amazing though. I'd love that.
How many?
I'd love
How
it.
many contestants are there on the show?
5.
5. But so then after 5 seasons, they then did a season where the champion of each of those seasons.
Oh, so you'll count if you're...
was on it.
It's still not 35.
Is it 25? Yeah. I don't do math.
25.
I've got you in GCSE.
Every
maths.
5 seasons you get a champion. So yeah, 25.
Yeah, 25 to have 5. Yeah. Okay. It's more realistic than 35 then, isn't it? We might get it. Who knows? I doubt it.
Anyway.
It'd be good. I have one other review to do. No, you're going to like this one, Ellie. I finally finished season 2 of a little show on Netflix called Queer Eye. So you look at Eddie's little face. Look at how much that's just brightened up.
It's my favourite Netflix show.
She does look very happy.
Yeah.
What did you think, Liam?
So yeah, I really liked it. It's the sort of show that I like to watch when I'm like feeling a bit down, and then I watch it. I'm like, the world's not shit.
Yeah.
But then like I had a long period where I didn't watch it because I was watching it every now and again with Kat, and it got to an episode where she'd seen it recently with her mum and didn't want to rewatch it, so I had to wait for this weekend when she went away. I was like, right, I get to watch some Queer Eye now, and then I only had like two episodes left of the season. It was really good. Jonathan is still like going up in my estimation, so I think because I literally just edited it for YouTube. Last time when I did season 1, I said he was like my 4th favourite with Bobby at number 5.
Yeah.
I think he might have gone up to like 3rd favourite.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that you like ranking things.
I don't know if
Liam likes
how
lists and doing them in order, and he likes to rank things.
I do love a good rank.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Favourite episode was the like 18-year-old who lived with his godmother, I think it was.
I'm trying to remember. I haven't watched it since. I binge watched it the day it came out.
His name was Sean, and he's a little musician man, and he only hangs out with old people.
Yeah.
And they tried to get him like hanging out with younger people, so they took him paintballing. And I think it's not like Alabama, is it? But it's like, is it still Atlanta this season?
I think so.
Or did
I think they spread
else?
out a bit more, but there was also a couple episodes in. Yeah.
Yeah. So they take him paintballing, right? And this like super just very introverted, very white guy goes up to this black dude, and the first thing he says is just, "Oh, I really like your haircut." And it's just like, it just cuts to like, I think Camo and I think one of the other, I can't remember who, and they're both just there like super cringing, and it's such good TV. It's just, I love it. Yeah, I super enjoyed it. 4 out of 5.
Good stuff. I've never seen it.
You should watch it. It's genuinely super feel good.
Wholesome.
I know, but I struggle with things that can be described as feel
Oh, that's
good.
fair then. If you don't like feel good stuff, then yeah, don't watch it.
It's not that. It's not that I don't like feel good stuff. It's just I'm a little bit like Ted Bundy. I don't like feeling real human emotions.
But neither does Liam.
Which is why, I don't like. I struggle a little bit when people are being really nice to each other.
Oh, okay, yeah. It is very much that.
I find the thing is I know that I'd enjoy it, but everything that I've heard about it, like even just thinking about the concept of it, and like these like 4 or 5 just really nice gay guys being really nice to somebody else.
They're not always really nice,
but like turning their life around and stuff, and like just like it makes like it's making my chest contract already. Like I can't. It's going to be too much for me. So I'm gonna rewatch like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something instead, because
choice.
I can deal with those sorts of emotions. Those like fear is great. Happiness I struggle with.
That's fair enough. That's a fair reason not to watch it.
Yeah.
To be fair, one of my favourite things in Queer Eye is like at the end they watch like whoever it is that they've been helping. They watch them like do a thing at like a party or something that they're hosting or whatever, and they all like comment. And you've got this guy called Tan who's in charge of fashion, and like I reckon a good 70% of the time he's like, "Oh, why aren't they doing that thing I told them to do?" And it's just so funny. Just this guy who's generally quite positive, just being like, "I hate everything about that. I like the shoes, but everything else I hate." I super enjoy that part.
Yeah, that does sound pretty good actually. I mean, like it's one of those things like RuPaul's Drag Race. They've been on my Netflix list forever and ever. I guess I'll get around to it at some point. I don't know.
I've tried.
I'm intimidated by its kindness.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, he's not that kind. I mean, I'm not saying that as someone who watches the show. I have issues with that show. So.
Okay, fair enough. RuPaul pops up in Someone Great very briefly.
Oh, really? Fair enough. Yeah, Ellie. We've discussed it on the podcast before, but Ellie has a thing about RuPaul because he doesn't like trans people, is it?
He's a bit of a transphobe.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right.
I know.
No, I know.
It's why. He basically.
I'm so confused.
So in the original seasons of the show, they had a section called "You've Got She-Mail." So then people went to him. Oh, like after a few seasons, people were like, "Oh, that's actually that's not a particularly good term for trans. Like trans women aren't fans of that term at all, obviously." And we were like, it's not like your place to retake that because you're not a trans woman. You're a drag queen. So and no one calls drag queens she-males. So, and then he was basically responding with like, fuck all of you. How dare you try and tell me what to do? Then he tried to...
Eddie's paraphrasing there.
Yeah, a little bit. But then he also has had some stuff where like a trans woman came out on the show and then he said he wouldn't let trans women compete because it's unfair. And then, there was just a load of shit. And, he constantly apologises for it. And everyone goes, oh, okay, yeah, he said sorry. And then, more shit happens. And I'm like, why do we keep forgiving him?
Right, okay.
Side note, have you both been following this whole, Alabama...
Yep. We're getting very deep in this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on.
Okay, well, now's...
there, but...
I'll be honest with you, Liam. It's bad, and now's probably not the time to have a deep discussion about it.
Well, no, I just think if we had the choice to keep it or not, I think we definitely would, because now it's time for housekeeping.
I feel like you might have to apologise for that, Liam. I think you might have to apologise to the listeners, because that was bad, and I don't like it.
Sorry, listeners. So we had an email come in. I wish the listeners could see Ellie's face right now.
Yeah.
It's not a happy
No.
face, is it?
It's not very happy.
We had an email. Case number 0114012539. We've received a DMCA notice regarding your account. Basically, Ellie was naughty on Twitter a while ago, and now we've been caught
Apparently
out
so.
for it.
What did you do?
Nothing!
Wow. Ellie uploaded a video of her. She was supposed to be cleaning her room, I believe. But yeah, so the tweet that accompanied
You're dragging
the
it
video she
out,
uploaded
and it's making it seem worse.
Yeah, no, the tweet that accompanied it was, so I'm cleaning my room, ... which may be degenerated into an impromptu solo dance session. And then it was a video of Ellie dancing to Fifth Harmony Work From Home.
As you do.
Which, yeah, good song. I get why you dance to it. Twitter, not happy with that.
Oh.
Copyright.
Oh.
So the tweet is still there, but the video has a little warning on it that says the media has been disabled. This media has been disabled in response to a report by the copyright owner.
I like the idea that someone tracked down that video after how many years?
I can tell you actually. Hang on. So this tweet went up. Can I tell you? 2016, 28th of July,
So
2016.
3 years ago.
Wow.
It's taken them 3 years to find
Wow.
Yeah. Well, it's not like you hashtagged Fifth Harmony or Work From Home. So they must have really trawled the internet to find that. I imagine there's got to be some way where they can scan videos that match sound frequencies or something, right?
They have bots that do it.
Yeah. Now, I initially, when this email came in, thought it was a scam because there is a thing on it that's if you believe the material has been removed as a result of mistake or misidentification, you may submit a counter notification of your objection, and it's going to cost us $17.
Let's take it. Let's do it, Liam.
But-
let's fight this.
No, because we definitely are in the
No,
wrong
I
here.
think I was doing it in review. If I remember rightly, at the end, I said, this is a good song.
No, if I remember rightly, you don't
No, I
talk
don't
at all
think I
in the
do.
whole video.
Fair
You just
use.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
fair use.
dance. So, so we had that email from Graham Grant, the director of
That's
Anti-Piracy.
sad because, maybe you can directly send me the video because it makes me sad that I've only just discovered the existence of this.
I don't know if that video
And yet
existed
it's been
anywhere else.
taken down.
Yeah, you've probably got a new phone since then or something, right? So it
Yeah.
wouldn't be on your phone
I
anymore.
think that video might be gone forever, and it's all thanks to
That's
whoever
a
manages
tragedy.
Fifth Harmony.
Sony Music, I think it was.
So, listeners,
Any email?
email Sony Music, demand that they rescind their copyright.
Sony Music
Maybe you could
Entertainment.
crowdfund the $17 you need to
Well, the
appeal.
problem is, we'd appeal, but then they'd go, no, we've reviewed the video. You don't comment on it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have no leg to stand on here. Thanks for $17.
Fine.
Okay, we had some tweets as well from the last episode. Frankie tweeted us saying, so happy to hear Ellie is reading books again. I hope that, but for how long, is just Liam added some drama and not a sign that the reading didn't go well. Because I did a little tweet that was oh, Ellie's reading, but for how long, to reel in the listeners and get them listening.
Clickbait.
Marketing, innit? Yeah, exactly. How's the reading going, Ellie?
I am considering reading Game of Thrones, so I don't know.
Do it, it's good.
I want to do it, but I also want to wait until it's actually finished.
Yeah, I
before
guess that's
do
the
it.
other thing is I will catch up and then be I've got to wait for the last two books.
There's loads of it. You'll be fine.
Ellie reads very fast when she gets into a book, though.
God, I don't. I'm such a slow reader.
Same.
That's why we read point horrors.
Yeah, that's our sort of speed.
Yeah.
I can whiz through a point horror.
That's
but
my level.
Actual book.
I particularly like it when they try and pad it out by just making the font bigger. I'm into that.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Frankie also tweeted saying, okay, Andrew Scott as a priest has Fleabag going on my watch list with high priority, and while I love him best as Moriarty, I knew him first from My Life in Film, a series I highly recommend, which we should probably add to our list of recommendations, because I looked it up and it does sound interesting. Amanda tweeted us saying, I was getting really whiny on Twitter because I didn't want to do 50 Shades Darker. Yeah, I know. Can you believe it? And Amanda tweeted saying, The reason why we were doing it was because a couple of years ago we said we'd do more for Mother's Day, but like we've said we'd do stuff loads of times on the podcast that we then haven't done,
Liam.
so I don't know why we're doing that. Frankie said, what a way to end the episode. How dare you lump in Fantasia with the likes of 50 Shades? Sure, it's not a film I watch when I'm in the mood for a film. It's one I watch when I'm in the mood for classical music, but it's still a film and a damn good one.
Nah.
Strong disagree.
No, strong disagree.
I'm pleased we're on the same page with this. Because...
I do not understand it at all. The love for it. I like Mickey as the little wizard. That's good. I went to Walt Disney World in Florida with my mum when I was a teenager and bought a very nice Mickey wizard like plushie back. Big fan. I like the little dancing mushrooms. But these are the sorts of things that, you know, when it's nice is when you're watching like Channel 4 around Christmas time and they do like the 50 best animated films of all time, which, first off, Fantasia shouldn't be fucking in it, but it always is. And they show you the little clips and you go, oh, look, there's Mickey as a wizard. Oh, look, there's the little dancing mushrooms. Oh, look, there's the big hippos in the like little ballet tutus. Aren't they cute?
Yeah.
Nobody needs to sit down for like 3.5 hours or however. Like, I don't know how long it actually is, but it feels like about 3.5 hours.
Yeah. I remember having it on VHS as a kid, and it would never be my like go-to. Like, if I was ever like, oh, I don't really remember this, let's watch it. It would just instant regret.
Yeah, I just don't understand who it's for.
No, it's not for me. Oh, and then Frank said that she laughed because she upgraded her Fantasia to Blu-ray. At the same time, she bought some Zac Efron films. So I obviously liked that tweet, which meant I liked to tweet about Fantasia. Whatever, Zac Efron was in it. Zac Efron beats Fantasia. If they've remade Fantasia and cast Zac Efron in all the roles, I might like it.
In all of the roles.
It's the only way I'm going to like it. Okay. Oh, we had a question from Kat, which I think we maybe sort of covered earlier, but well, we'll do it again. What is Becky's favourite and least favourite point horror book?
So favourite, I would say Halloween Night.
Yeah.
And least favourite, I'd say The Babysitter, which is sad really, because it was our first episode on our podcast. And both Jill and I felt very lukewarm about The Babysitter. It's just very repetitive.
It's awful.
It's really just, I don't know, some, like R.L. Stine definitely gets better. Like some of the writing in it is very shoddy.
I've read 2 R.L. Stine books now, and yep, okay.
Doesn't get better.
I mean, the thing with R.L. Stine and point horror that I've noticed is I enjoy the act of reading them. Like, I'll read the book really quickly, but when it's done, I'll be like, oh, that was really not great. Like,
all
the
that
Babysitter
stuff
was worse.
in The Babysitter about her sort of confusing a rock with a dog and some leaves as dancing squirrels and nonsense.
It was just her. There was a bit where she was imagining like scenarios that I was reading. It was like, if this book was about that, this book would be better, and that's annoying me. Like, there's a bit where she hears a knock on the door and she's like, oh, maybe it's the police and there's been like a toxic nuclear waste spill outside
right,
and everyone's mutants. And I'm like, yeah, let's read that book.
Maybe that's where Point Horror Mutants comes from.
It's possible.
It's a spin-off that everyone wanted.
You just find out at the end.
I'll send you some links to those books later so you can see. Yeah,
it's all in her head. Yeah.
There's 3 more Babysitter books as well as the other thing.
Yeah, I haven't. Do they all? Are they new babysitters or is it all Jenny?
It's all Jenny.
Do you know that for sure, Liam?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
Because I read the back of the Babysitter 4 and it was still banging on
that
about
might
Jenny.
be. That doesn't mean they're all about Jenny.
No. Well then.
We'll find out in a couple of years' time when Jill and I cover them on the podcast, or when Liam reads them to you, Ellie.
Ellie can't wait. But yeah, no, I'm with you on the Babysitter being.
Yeah, that's definitely my least favourite so far.
Okay, yeah, understandable. Amanda tweeted us saying that she's looking forward to more fantasy book reviews and recommendations from Ellie. Also, she hopes that I, Liam, will get back to reading all the Stephen King books in order. 'Cause I started that with Carrie, and then the next book was... Oh, fuck, I forgot the name again. I did it last time. It's got a cat on the front, but it's not Pet Cemetery.
Salem's Lot.
That's the one. And it's a big old book. Although, after watching Game of Thrones...
Sorry, just before you move on from that.
Yeah.
So your effort to read every Stephen King book in order was you reading Carrie?
Yeah.
So would you maybe more accurately describe that as you read Carrie?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah. And then I brought Salem's Lot with the intention of doing that, and it did not happen because it's a big book, and I wasn't expecting it to be that book. And I wasn't expecting it to be that big, and I'd only just started getting back into reading, and going from like Carrie, which was like a 200-page book, to this book, which was like 600 or 700 pages, I was like, too much, too big, too much.
So instead, you've gone from Carrie to Goosebumps. Okay.
Yes.
So you're going in the opposite direction.
Went in the opposite direction. Yeah, and then I read like 6 Goosebumps books and was like fucking loving reading again.
Yeah, but I bet that 6 Goosebumps books is basically the same length as reading Salem's Lot.
Yeah, but I bet it's...
I don't even know. It might be more Goosebumps books than that to get to Salem's
Really?
Lot.
Oh, okay.
And even then, yeah.
All right.
Well, bear in mind,
it's the language.
I did 6 Goosebumps and 6 Point Horror, but yeah, they're not as big reads, are they? Like, I don't have to think as much with them.
No.
But after watching Game of Thrones, I was like, I want to get into like a fantasy type world like this, but in book form. So I bought a couple of like fantasy, like adult, not like adult as in like naughty, but adult as in like for grown-ups type books. And I'm reading one at the moment which Ellie hasn't read before, which is surprising because Ellie reads a lot of this sort of stuff.
Yeah, but you deliberately you asked me for the list that I'd been working through because I was doing a list, and then you deliberately bought one that was different.
But then I said, I don't want to. No, I brought 2 off of that list, and then I went, no, but I want something to read tonight. And there was one that you could get in like a big sort of collection with like 2 other books in the series. But it was like then a 1,000-page book, and I don't like holding books that big. It annoys me. So I got the first part of that book that was just 300 and something pages on Kindle.
I just like the way you talk sometimes, Liam. You just say shit, and it's just ridiculous.
I don't like holding books that big. It annoys me.
The idea of you picking up an 1,000-page book and going, I can't deal with this.
It's too heavy.
I mean, I would have understood it if you'd said something like, it intimidates me, or like something like that, but
No.
for the emotion to be annoyance is just hilarious.
It's because, right, when you've got a book that big, and especially when it's like 3 books in one, it's a bit too much faff. Because then, right, like, I've read the first book, but it doesn't feel like I've completed the book, because I've still got 2/3 of essentially the same book to go, but it's actually 3 books, and it's too much for me.
Okay.
Don't like
Sure.
and holding it and turning the pages of a book that big, like, so I like to read in the bath, but
I'd forgotten that
to
was
do
a thing.
that because I don't want to because I don't want to drop the book in the bath. I have to like sit with my arms on like the edge of the bath, leaning like over it with the book outside. So if I drop it and it falls on the floor, then it's not going to get wet. But then imagine doing that with like a book that's 1,000 pages long.
Imagine being so weird as a person that the
Yeah,
only time you
that
can
is
read,
weird.
you're like, I need to read another couple of chapters of this book. I'll go run a bath and then just dangle over the edge like, And then and then you have the audacity to say that picking up an 1,000-page book annoys you. Fuck you, you have a ritual with every book.
Yeah. But to be fair, right? So I was reading in the bath the other day on my phone, and it was so good because I could get like right in the water and was like, I don't care if I drop this, my phone won't get too damaged.
Wait, do you have a waterproof phone?
Because it would mostly, I don't know, but it's land on my chest, so it'd only go like a little bit in the water.
I hate.
So we had another tweet.
Fuck me, Liam. Jesus Christ.
Amanda. I'm just going to
You'd
move on
rather
because
just-
both Becky and
You'd
Eddie's
rather drop a
reactions
phone
is
in
like
the
I've said
water
something wrong.
than a book.
I'm pretty sure phones can get a little bit wet. Like my phone's been in the
So
rain
can
before,
books, Liam!
but they get all like wrinkly and weird, right?
And phones, when you get them a little bit wet, Liam, they slowly develop weird watermarks under the screen.
My phone's been in the rain before and it's been.
That's
right.
not the same as dropping it on your chest in a wet bath.
Well, I didn't drop it anyway, so it's all good.
Hate you.
But right, imagine lying back in a bath with a 1,000-page book. Oh,
I don't read in the bath.
Arms in. Yeah, well, I do. So anyway, Amanda tweeted us saying that she went ahead and stayed paused on the last episode, and she's going to add one cut of the dead to her list alongside Barefoot Gen of things to watch with us next time she makes it to England. That's going to be a weird day, going from Barefoot Gen to
Oh god,
One
yeah,
Cut
no,
of
I
the
don't want
Dead.
to do that.
Becky, have you seen One Cut of the Dead?
Yes, I have.
What did you think?
Fucking loved it.
Excellent. Have you seen Barefoot Gen?
No.
So you know how you were saying you don't like happy, cheery things?
Yeah.
This is the film
Yeah,
for
this
you.
is the polar opposite of that.
Yeah. How do you feel about anime?
Yeah, big fan.
Yeah? How do you feel about watching an anime about Hiroshima?
Oh.
Yeah, it's
That's the sort of tone we're
it's
looking
the
at with this
saddest
film.
thing we've done on this podcast.
Now you've said that, I know what Barefoot Gen is.
It's really good.
Is it?
It's good. It's also just.
I went when I was in, I think Tokyo, potentially Kyoto. In fact, I think it might have been at the Kyoto Manga Museum. They had a temporary exhibition about the writer of Barefoot Gen,
Oh.
and they had loads of the original mangas in cases and
That's
history
awesome.
and stuff. Yeah, when you said it, I was thinking of something else, but actually I do know what that is. And I remember at the time thinking, this looks dark.
It is. But
Yeah.
it's also my favourite anime film of all time, so I
Oh, wow.
recommend it.
All right. Well, that is quite a recommendation. I will definitely add it to the list.
It's not a huge recommendation. I've watched all of 4 or 5 anime films. I'm not
And he
well
hates
versed
all
in
of
it.
them except Barefoot Gen.
I don't hate all of them. I just struggle with most of them.
What are the other ones that you've watched?
I've seen Akira.
Right. And you didn't like Akira?
I didn't get it.
I mean, you do have to watch it a couple of times to...
I need to see it again,
To
I
be
think.
honest, I've probably seen it half a dozen times and I still don't technically get it.
Yeah. I've seen, is it called Perfect Blue? Mm-hmm. Which I think Darren Aronofsky is basically like, oh, I like this. Let's steal all these ideas for my films.
Yep.
What was the one you read? Princess Mononoke?
Mononoke?
So now I'm pretty sure I've seen Howl's Moving Castle
Your
before.
Name?
Okay.
Or Spirited Away, one of those two. Oh yeah, Your Name I've seen. That's alright. I think that's pretty much it, I think.
All right, well, that's a decent spread for Barefoot Gen to be...
Oh, and Grave of
Your
the
favourite?
Fireflies.
Wow, you like the bleak ones, huh?
Yeah.
Have you ever watched Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah, we tried to cover
Don't
it.
say
on
don't
Previous
say
Culture
we
Shock.
tried to cover it. I covered it totally fine. You tried to cover it because you're a dick who hates
Yeah,
good
this was
anime.
back in the day when we were doing TV shows on Culture Swap. We had a rule of 6 episodes or something. So I did however many episodes we had to do for that, and I was like, am I going to watch more? And the answer to that was no. And also Attack on Titan, I've tried twice now and can't get through that.
Is that the one with the great big guys with the naked
Yeah.
guys who bash through the walls? Yeah, that is. I mean, it's a slog. I still haven't finished it. I like it, but that is something that I'll watch one episode and then at the end of it feel like I need a shower and a cuddle. That is some. It's
There
quite
was
full
an
on.
anime that I tried to watch as a teenager, right? And every time I talk to people about it, they've never heard of it.
Is this,
so let's give
is
this
this
a go.
that one?
Have you?
The one that you always tell me you've watched?
Is it the tentacle rape one, Liam?
No, it's called Rumbling Hearts.
Well, that was the tentacle rape one is the one that we always used to talk about when we were at school. So
No, that's
I don't
fair,
know.
yeah, that's-
nothing.
Yeah, no. So, Rumbling Hearts was essentially a coming of age anime where it was all very serious. There was no tentacles, none of that in it. The description on IMDb is just follows complicated love life of. I can't do that.
I don't know why you tried to read this because you know you can't do the names.
Takayuki Inarumi.
Yeah, that
Pretty
sounded
good. Sounded
There we
alright.
go.
It
A
did
male
also
high
sound a
school
little bit
student.
like you were taking the piss because it sounded like the second bit was in a roomie, like
Takumi in a room.
Narumi.
Liam, Ellie, and Becky in a roomie.
But yeah, just a male high school student. That's literally it. And so all I remember is the first episode ends with a car crash, and then the next episode picks up several months later. But it's all just about these high school kids and their love lives and stuff.
I love that
Never heard of it.
No one's
Liam's
ever
good
heard of
anime
it.
list is 2 very depressing animes and then Rumbling
Yeah.
Hearts, which sounds very much like the sort of
I don't-
stereotypical romance anime.
I'm not saying this is good.
And
I'm
also,
just
he's
saying
managed
this
to
is something
pick
I've seen.
one that neither of us who really like anime have heard of. How have you managed this?
genuinely, honestly, like I picked this up when I was like
That's
16.
such a
I would
hipster.
love to know
A
how
while ago.
16-year-old Liam found this anime.
I think I just saw it on like play.com or something.
Wild.
Jesus,
the
they
day.
didn't even have the internet wasn't even invented when I was 16.
That's the point, Liam. Are you sure? Would you have been on the internet at 16, Liam?
Yeah, I was big into Neopets at 16. I shouldn't admit that. That's more of a 14-year-old.
Yeah, I was.
Isn't it?
I was like 12 when it came to Neopets, but sure, 16-year-old Liam.
I loved it, honestly.
What's Neopets? Is it like Gigapets? Is it like Tamagotchis?
Sort of. It was like an online website, and you had a Neopet, and then you played mini games to get money and eggs, and then you
could get paintbrushes and have it like different colours,
Yeah, they were worth,
and you could train it up and battle it, and
yeah.
it was a whole thing. It was a big
Kids
thing
were into
when
it.
I was a teenager.
Kids like me at 12,
kids.
Teenage Liam.
and then apparently some creepy 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
Did you guys meet in a chat room? Is that how this whole thing kicked off?
Could you imagine? No, we met at uni.
Yeah.
No, I know.
My chat room days were long behind me by the time I went to uni, thankfully. Although I spent way too long as a teenager on like the Kerrang message boards.
Why? Sorry. Let's not
Anyway.
get into it.
Yeah, Amanda tweeted us saying, in the last episode, I was like, why are we doing a sequel? We never do sequels. This is bullshit. And then Amanda tweeted us saying, Liam, every Christmas you have Ellie watch a sequel for Culture Swap.
So, yep.
So, yeah. And I watched multiple Santa Claus movies as well, which I don't know why that keeps coming up, all right? The very first Christmas special, Ellie gave me the first Santa Claus. I bought a box set of all three, spent the night watching all three, and then really chuffed with myself, came on to the episode and was like, I've watched all three Santa Claus movies, and no one has been impressed.
Because it wasn't impressive. You forced everyone, me included, and all our listeners, to listen to, I think it was like in the end like an hour and a half of you talking about the three Santa Claus movies.
Got really into
So
it.
when you say Santa Claus, you mean the Tim Allen ones?
Yeah,
Okay.
all three of those.
Okay.
Amanda also tweeted us saying, the extreme 180 degree of emotions I just experienced from laughing at Liam being the worst mum to shock at the Fantasia hate.
Already covered that.
Deal with it. And then so we were saying last episode we don't know why like 50 Shades got big, and Amanda has come in with reasons because she worked at a bookstore when 50 Shades hit big, and apparently E.L. James started out writing online. People were asking for the books constantly, and for a while you could only do special orders where they essentially were printed to order because everything was online. And then from Amanda's understanding, initially they were online for free under fan fiction sites. Then E.L. James pulled everything back behind a paywall and eventually got a traditional publisher. The phenomenon around it still boggles her, but that Mother's Day lead up, they sold thousands of them.
Fair enough.
Also, 50 Shades Freed is a truly hilariously bad movie. It's better than the other two because of its unintentional humour. So,
Fair enough. Are you done, Liam?
I think no.
Be done. Liam.
Oh yeah. No, we've got a question for Becky, but that's for later.
yes.
So don't worry, I'm done for
Okay.
now. Done for now. 1090. Moving on.
Well, I need to. We haven't got the recording from last time. Becky, that's how many DVDs
Right.
Liam has left to watch in a pile of DVDs that he owns but has not watched. Some of them he has seen before in the past but didn't own. It's very confusing.
No, I didn't log it on Letterboxd. It's everything I've watched since starting Letterboxd in 2013.
So that's 1,090 DVDs in a pile that Liam is currently working through and has been working through for 3 years now, and the number has barely decreased.
It's going down this year though because I've stopped buying so many, haven't I? I've been
Not
buying
that
all these
much.
bloody books.
That's a lot. I can now see why you slightly raised your eyebrows when I said I had a watch list of 600
Yeah, because
earlier.
Liam's sitting there going, nothing.
Nothing. Jesus.
Yeah, I wish I
all
had
right,
a
so
watch list.
bearing in mind your need for order and a linear approach to these matters, how are you watching these films?
Mostly, like, it depends what I'm in the mood for, right? But, like, there'll be certain directors where I'll be doing their work in order. So I'm currently working through Russ Meyer, because I have one of his box sets. And
Faster
probably, like,
Pussycat,
halfway
Kill
through.
Kill.
yeah, very good film.
Vixen, my personal favourite.
I was literally just about to say, I haven't seen his biggest film, which is Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. Mm-hmm. Haven't seen that yet. It's my next one to watch, but I need to watch Valley of the Dolls first, which wasn't directed by him. But again, have to do things in order. I don't even know if they're related, to be honest. But Criterion released them both together, so fuck it, I'll do it together. But yeah, Vixen is so far my favourite of his. Although Lorna is also really good.
I haven't seen that.
It's worth a watch. But yeah, so like certain directors I'll be doing in order. Otherwise, like if I have like a film series, it'll be in order. So I've recently done the first 3 Transporter movies with Jason Statham, which are terribly average, to be honest. But yeah, I just haven't been watching a lot lately, but I also haven't been buying, so it's not going up at least.
Okay, well that's something.
I've got next week off work, and my plan is to try and get this list down a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see.
What's your aim? How many do you want to watch in that week?
Well, I've got like all these Nintendo Switch games to play now that I bought as well, and I've got books to read. So we'll see what happens. It'll go down.
The worst part is that Liam set himself a goal this year. Like,
oh, all right.
So overconfident. He has failed every goal that I've set. Like, so my whole attitude is I'm genuinely trying to help him not buy more DVDs because he doesn't need them. And to do that, I'm like, we'll set a goal. If you get below it, you get a reward. If you get above it, you get punished. And like maybe some part of his brain, the ordered part, will be like, I very much want the ordered reward and not the chaotic punishment that Ellie will give me. But no, it's never happened. So then
the punishment is
then
awful.
You Liam were the one that said this year I'm going to get below 1,000, and you are not on track.
Yeah. So just to give like listeners and Becky context, last year I think I started the year at 1,093. Did I?
I haven't got the list up because my computer's not connected.
But something like that, right? Something like that. And the goal was just to get below the number that I started the year on, which was 1,093. And I epically failed that. I think I ended up over 1,000.
Yeah, you were definitely over 1,100. Yep.
I think it was 1,019 when I started this year. So I'm now down to 1,090 again. But like the problem is, right, I go through like phases with these things. So when I started this year off, right, I had a week where I watched 8 films. Now that's where I was like, I can probably get to below 1,000 because that's what at that rate, that's about 12 weeks of watching. Problem is that only lasted about a week. And now, like, I've had 2 weeks this year. I've watched no films, and on average, I'm averaging 2.8 per week.
God, my stomach's rumbling. Sorry, just a little tangent there, just in case you're interested. I can't believe you've gone. Yeah, I mean, you need to commit. You can't be going for weeks without watching anything if you've got that sort of number.
Yeah, but I've got other things to do.
It's ridiculous, Liam.
It's
ridiculous.
Culture
my
swap.
culture.
Okay, so we watched The Omen because Becky told us to.
Yeah, I did.
So now Becky's going to tell us why she told us to watch The Omen.
Because it's my favourite horror film.
It's a solid reason.
And you said, when we were messaging, you were like, oh, you can choose whatever you want. And so I chose my favourite horror film.
So I'm always happy to discuss horror on this podcast. Is it my favourite genre?
No, coming of age is your favourite genre, but you like horror.
I do like me some horror. I've watched, like, there's a book of 101 horror movies to see before you die. I've watched all of them.
Ooh, were they ranked?
No, the book was done in chronological order, but I didn't watch it in
God, I bet you loved it. Oh! It's like it was written for you.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed that. And then I had like a Halloween a couple of years ago where I was like 15 films away from finishing the list. So I was just like, right, let's commit. And then I bought them all and watched them all. And this is why my list doesn't go down.
That does sound great, though. That sounds like a perfect Halloween.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I would say definitely my favourite subgenre of horror films is like the occult, devil, witchy, devilish stuff going on. Yeah. So this obviously ticks that box. I think I think the performances in it are pretty strong, mainly from Gregory Peck, who's amazing. David Warner, who plays Keith the photographer. Yeah. And they have a really like strong chemistry, and I think where the film is at its best is like the bits with those two off on their little adventures. It's got the quintessential creepy kid to beat all other creepy kids, to the point that like Damien has sort of entered the zeitgeist or like popular parlance as like you know, oh my god, my kid was being such a Damien this morning or whatever. And scores
Jaws amazing. It's got some really strong 70s fashion.
Yes.
There's a couple of kills in it that are just like still today massively hold up. Plus a bunch of it, well, not a bunch of it, some scenes, and especially like towards the end, were filmed around like my kind of hometown. So like Guildford Cathedral and Seven Hills Road, which was the road that we always used to drive down on the way to my nan's house. Both make a pretty strong appearance. So I think there's like an element of kind of nostalgia to it as well.
Makes sense.
So yeah, just love it.
I don't think there were any films filmed in like Hillingdon where I grew up.
No?
Nothing I can think of. And I can guarantee if they were, they wouldn't be very good. They wouldn't be like on the Omen level.
The opening battle scene of Gladiator was filmed in Bourne Woods, which is also in my hometown.
All right.
Fair enough.
Did not know that.
Everything's filmed near your hometown.
Yep. Sorry.
Well,
sorry, not sorry.
Not everything. The Omen and
All right,
Gladiator.
But I mean, those weirdly, and this is weird. I don't think there is an actual link, but Gladiator is also Gladiator is in my top 5 films of all time.
Good film.
What else is in that top 5? So you've got The Omen, I'm assuming.
No, actually, no, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Top 10. I would see the way. Before I answer, the other weird thing is there are films that I rate 5 stars, and I would say that I rate The Omen 4.5 stars, but it's still my favourite horror film.
Yeah, no, I get that. Like,
because it's not necessarily like the best horror film, but it's my favourite.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. My favourite horror film just squeezes into my top 5.
Which is?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, good. Okay.
But that's in at like number 5. But yeah, my top 5's all over the place, to be honest. So
mine is so at number 1 it's Jaws, and then the 4.
Well, that's a horror, right?
No, not in my opinion. A lot of people say it is, but they're all wrong.
Pretty sure it's in my 101 horror films to watch before you die, but
probably. I just don't think it is. Anyway,
okay.
So that's at number 1, and then the 4 underneath aren't really in a particular order, and it sort of fluctuates.
Yeah.
So Gladiator, Lost in Translation.
Oh, that's a great film.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And My Neighbor Totoro.
Nice.
Okay. It's a solid top 5. Ellie, what's your top 5?
Your Name.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I was one of those people that always used to say Star Wars, and then like, I don't know, I think about it now and I'm like, is Star Wars one of my favourite films, or am I just nostalgic for Star Wars? I think I might just be nostalgic for it, so I don't know what my top 5 is anymore. I super love Judge Dredd, the new one. I'm putting that in my top 5 just to piss everyone off.
The one that was called just
Dredd.
Dredd.
With Carl Urban. Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry. Who is going to get pissed off as that as a choice? That is
one of those films that people are like, oh, the original stuff's so much better.
It's the sort of film where the only thing that I can think of that people would complain about that is they'd go, oh, it's basically The Raid, but with Judge Dredd.
Cool. So controversial in a lot of circles, but Dredd is way better than The Raid, for one thing.
It's cool.
It is. I think it's an underrated movie.
Yeah,
I fucking love that film.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad other people do, because genuinely, I saw that film. It's one of the only films I own on DVD. I was like, oh shit, I loved that movie a lot.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Then probably Godzilla. I'd put Godzilla in there, Liam. You know, I've got a thing for Godzilla.
The recent
Godzilla.
one?
Which
probably
one?
The most recent one. Which isn't even...
No.
I just love Godzilla, and seeing him in beautiful, high definition. Or... maybe I'll put Shin Godzilla in there.
Criterion released the original on Blu-ray.
Instead, I'll put Shin Godzilla in the Japanese one, because that one's mind-blowing.
Great. I love that so much. Proto Godzilla, when he first comes out of the sea with his like funny little face, and his big eyes. Oh, I loved him so much.
Weird. It's such a weird film.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
What a great movie.
That is, honestly, yeah.
Haven't seen it.
It essentially like looks at the bureaucracy behind a Godzilla monster attacking Tokyo.
It's wild.
It's really
you need
great.
To see it just to see the weird proto Godzilla, because it is.
He's so cute. Like, I want one.
Like, oh, it's just weird.
I remember you reviewing it on the podcast, Ellie, and you said like it was a mixed bag. You said some of the special effects,
it's not
weren't
good
great, and some of the,
CGI or anything.
voice
It's just
acting.
amazing.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I haven't got a top 5. Those are the ones that I can currently think of. So,
would you not have Lord of the Rings in there?
Yeah, I was saying this to someone. Lord of the Rings is the film I have seen the most. Like that trilogy, I have watched it. There was a period in high school where like every weekend for 3 weeks I would watch the extended edition 1, 2, and 3, and then that would just repeat. Like the next weekend I'd be like, I could watch 1 again. Like not for like years, but that would be like, there'd be maybe a month where I did the trilogy twice and was like, what the fuck am I doing?
I have this like really fond memory of when I was a teenager. We were going to Canada on holiday, and we had to like get up ridiculously early to go to the airport. And I timed it. It was like, if I start watching the extended trilogy now, I can watch all 3 and have like half an hour before we have to leave, and it will keep me awake throughout the night, so I don't end up having to like wake up at ridiculous o'clock. So I just did that, and it was like one of the best days ever, because then I had all the excitement of like going on holiday as well.
I had
sounds great.
I had the opposite problem where I remember me and a friend had a day off from school and were like, oh, we could just watch like the whole trilogy. And then I completely misjudged it, and then I had to tell my mum that she wasn't allowed to have the TV for another hour because we were still watching Return of the King.
I bet your mum loved that.
Why did you put on a film before this? And we were like, no, it's been the whole day, and we've misjudged terribly.
Yeah, they are long.
Anyway, we got distracted with our best films.
Yeah, sorry, back to The Omen.
Oh, yeah. It's my favourite horror film. So,
what's Ellie's favourite horror film? Just before we go into it, because I've done mine. We've heard Becky's. So what's Ellie's?
Event Horizon, maybe.
Ooh,
Sci-fi though, isn't it?
Sci-fi horror.
Event Horizon is more of a horror than Jaws is.
Yeah. Like Alien is a horror film, like the first one, but that's
of course it is.
Yeah, I when it's like sci-fi horror, for some reason my head just puts them in sci-fi instead of horror. I don't know.
That's
why.
weird. That's like me being like, you can't have Nightmare on Elm Street because it's horror supernatural.
No, it doesn't make any sense. It's more a slasher than anything, to be honest.
Well, you don't discredit your own... Whatever. I answered your question. Let's continue with our review of Omen.
The Omen. There we go. Okay, Becky, lead this discussion, please. Hang on, so wait. You said you like supernatural, witchy, horror-y type movies first, yeah?
Yeah.
Have you seen... Alright, so this is going to be a dumb question, I'm assuming the answer is yes, but like the original Suspiria?
Yes.
Have you seen the new Suspiria?
Yes.
Is it any good?
Parts of it are really good.
This is just me, just generally just wondering now.
Yeah, I like the Liam.
Totally
I like
off
the
topic
Liam
of the podcast.
Lead this discussion, then went, no, all right, no, I've got this. It's fair enough. I'll take over. What's people's thoughts on the new Suspiria film?
I just want to know if I should watch it, basically.
What are you doing?
Horribly distracted.
Like, I know it's difficult because we've had the discussion about Omen before, so we're all trying to come up with a new way of talking about it. But Liam, you are going off the rails.
I've gone.
We've lost him.
About the Omen. Let's just circle around on all these different horror films. But yeah, no, should I watch the new one? I love the original.
It's a fucking shit show. So there are parts of it that are phenomenally good. Basically, all the stuff that is actually witch-based and in the dance school, and some of the actual choreographed dance performances are like jaw-droppingly good.
Yeah.
But then it's very baggy. So there's a lot of other stuff that is kind of going on, which I thought was completely pointless and very pretentious and very self-indulgent, and I was disappointed with it. So I would say that you should watch it, because I think the bits that are good are good enough that you should watch it just to see those, but it's a very baggy film.
So I shouldn't go in expecting like as good of a time as I have with the original.
I would say no.
Cool. Okay. Right, now The Omen.
Yes. So how do you normally talk about films?
A bit like this, to be honest.
Yeah, we are usually
fucking place.
Great.
A bit more all over the place.
We're killing it
today.
Yeah.
It's just
no. Typically, we are all over.
Yeah,
the place,
it's usually like it's
films.
not necessarily like a direct discussion of what happened. Although sometimes we do that. Sometimes it's like just I don't know
what we liked, what we didn't like.
So had you guys seen it before?
I've only seen the remake.
Interesting.
So this was in the 101 Horror Films to See Before You Die book. So I watched it several times.
The remake was in
No, this one.
Oh my god! Right, I
Yeah.
suddenly, my opinion of that book suddenly really just
Yeah, no.
nosedived. All right, okay.
This one. Yeah. I've seen this, all the sequels and the remake before.
Okay. I've never seen any of the sequels or the remake.
Which, that answers a question that we received on Twitter from Frankie, who, I can't find the actual tweet now, but it was basically, what were your thoughts on the sequels?
Yeah.
I've never seen any of them, mainly because I just love the original so much. I slightly feel, like, less so with the sequels, I suppose, but definitely with the remake. I feel like I feel like it would like sully the goodness of my most beloved film. The sequels, like I am interested to see, especially the one with Sam Neill in it, because Sam Neill is the best.
Yes, the third one.
But I just never quite gotten around to it. Again, it's one of these things slightly of like, I could watch The Omen 2, or I could watch The Omen for the 15th time.
Yeah. Did you ever see the Exorcist sequels?
No.
So that's another one where it's like The Exorcist, amazing film, then The Exorcist 2, it doesn't like, for me it doesn't sully the first one, because I can sort of separate them and be like, right, I can still enjoy the first one and ignore the existence of the sequels.
Yeah.
But the second one is just a real slog. The third one has some good moments in it.
Well, the third one's got that really famous jump scare in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. But yeah, second one's just a slog.
Well, that's because like Mark Kermode is like the biggest Exorcist fan, and then his vitriol for the second one is pretty funny.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a fan of him.
Yeah, I like a bit
Ellie
of
has to
Kermode.
listen to me waffle on about him every now and again.
I do, that's true.
He also likes Zac Efron, so, you know, good taste.
That's true. He particularly likes that Orson Welles film.
Yes, me and Orson Welles.
There you go.
But yeah, so, The Omen. I did some reading this time in preparation. I went through my like horror reader books that I have from uni, and not very much. The Omen only ever seems to be discussed when like contextualizing other films like The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby. It very rarely seems to get its own discussion, at least in the like 4 books that I flicked through.
Wow.
The only bit where it did get discussion was in the sound design, and apparently it won an Oscar for its sound.
I did
or
not
its
know that.
music or its score, something like that. The whole like gospel type music that's used in it.
Choral.
Yeah, that was being discussed and talking about how it was like that was like an ancient type of sound that was bringing this like modern film and rooting it back to all of the religious stuff.
Yeah. The music is. I think it's Jerry Bernstein. I want to say Bernstein. I'm not sure if he was
Probably right.
the person that won the Oscar, but yeah, no, the music is amazing, and you get like they do some like clever sort of cuts with it and stuff as well, where it will be like full on choral strings, screamy, devilly, and then they'll sort of intersperse it with like the kids' screams at the birthday party and stuff like that, which is really amazing. Or they'll just like really abruptly like cut it off, and it will sort of show like how, you know, supposedly peaceful. Like it's very, the sound design is pretty amazing.
He won the Oscar for Best Music Original Score.
Hey, look, at least I haven't talked about fucking kids this time.
No, that's true.
Yet.
Oh,
Give it
shit.
time.
Oh, God. Yeah. I've completely lost. That's why. Oh, right. Oh, I'm Becky, and it totally messed up by itself. I didn't want
Just
to say
deleted
that.
all of the
clip
audio.
me saying-
Oh no, I've dropped myself in it.
Yeah, that incriminating sound clip.
Yeah, what actually happened is my house got like raided by
They took that recording.
by like special forces, and they took it away, and I've currently got a tag on my ankle, so it's all a little bit embarrassing.
Oh.
The things we do for the podcast.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Gregory Peck, he's the American ambassador to England.
Yeah.
And it's good when he gets appointed that, because it's a bit of a fresh start for them. They come over with their little boy, so Gregory and his wife.
We missed the beginning bit, right, where she was pregnant and there was a priest, and the priest went, "Oh no, baby didn't make it. Have this one instead."
Yeah.
It's a very weird opening because I get it, but also like it's a weird choice to make as him.
To be fair, I watched it twice because I was paying attention the first time, but I was like, wait, I just need to watch this again because it's very like frenetic the way that opening's put together, where he's in the car,
Yeah,
and then he's like at the hospital, and he's having this conversation with the priest, and then it's like, right, we're now into the film, and we've got like that montage, and it's just like there was a moment I was like, wait, let me just watch this again just so I make sure I'm definitely following.
Definitely understand what's happened, which is that his wife has given birth to a stillborn baby, and he says to the priest who's kind of counselling him around it at the hospital, like she won't survive this, it's going to kill her. And he says, well, there is another baby who's doesn't have any parents, was born at exactly the same moment. You could take this one and your wife will never know. And so Gregory Peck's character, Robert Thorne, knows basically that this is like a cuckoo baby, basically. So it's not theirs, but Kathy, the mum, thinks that this is her like biological born baby.
Yeah.
But it ain't.
And
He's a right little tyke. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we don't find that out for a while in the film, but we can assume.
But he's born at 6 a.m. on the 6th of June.
Yeah. So you put that all together.
Yeah.
6 and 6 June.
As clues go, it's a heavy hitter.
Yeah. Well, I liked that it like the way it came up on screen wasn't like overly obvious.
That's true.
Like you did have to do a little bit.
I think it does actually. Just it says like 6 a.m. and then 6 June, but it like spells out June.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, I guess
they could have done like a more obvious way of. Yeah,
that's true. That is true. So yeah, they moved to England, and you get, as you mentioned, that nice like montage with all the photos of like the birthday parties, kind of with the kid growing up, and I think he's 5 when we start hanging out with him.
What is an ambassador?
I don't really know. It's about diplomacy.
Yeah, if you're the ambassador, you're the representative of your country in another country, but you're like the head, like honcho of that diplomatic relationship. So like the ambassador would talk to like the prime minister.
Yeah.
So was Gregory Peck representing America or
America?
UK?
America.
We don't have
in the UK.
We don't have a UK ambassador in the UK who talks to the prime minister about the UK, because that would be weird, Liam.
No, but I thought he might talk to America.
But he lives in the UK.
President in America. Yeah, like
and
almost
he's
like
American.
He's like, so he rings up and he's like, no, yeah. So he rings up and he's like, so this is what the UK.
There are a lot of clues, is what I'm saying, Liam. There are a lot of clues that you could have figured that one out by yourself.
All right.
Sorry, I'm being a dick, and I apologise.
As well as him being the ambassador, though, he's also a millionaire.
Yes.
Yeah.
You get mention of the Thorne millions. And so even though Mrs. Thorne desperately wanted this child, because they're rich, they have a nanny.
Oh, do you know what they should have had? Butler named Cobbs.
Oh, no, that would have confused matters horribly.
It would have been awesome.
I'm surprised they don't have a butler, but they do have a housekeeper and a groundskeeper, and they have a nanny who is pretty dedicated to the cause.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, not for long.
No.
She kind of resigns.
What is the implication? Because like all the other, so this is the first nanny in this film kills herself by throwing herself out of a window, or she climbs out the window with a noose.
She climbs out the window, stands on the ledge,
then
with
she
the
swings
noose.
back in and hits a window. That's what I was getting.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's the because every other death in this film is like, I don't know, someone getting like, it's something happening to someone else. Like it's not them doing it. But for that one,
yeah, it's like Final Destination, right?
There's like
I
a
think
series of events.
I think she sacrifices herself so that Mrs. Belloc can come in.
So the implication is that she is actually one of the like satanic people.
She's either one of the satanic people, or she's just like under the thrall of this like demonic.
I can get behind that. I just wanted to check because I suddenly thought I was like, oh, everyone else is like killed by something, and she killed herself. But no, I'm on board.
Yeah,
with that.
and she has that. It's all for you, Damien.
Yes.
That line, which, yeah, like the way I was reading it was definitely that she was like not acting under her own control.
Yeah, I think so too.
Fair.
But yeah, so she kills herself, and then the new nanny comes along.
Yeah, and she is quite a piece of work.
She, to be fair to her, she's an all right nanny. Apart from
Yeah.
the end stuff.
To be fair, they should have checked her references more carefully.
I mean, they really should have.
Because she just sort of shows up, and they both are like, "Did you ask for her?" And I'm like, "No." "Did you?" "No." "Oh, let's go talk to her about this." And they do that, and she goes, "Yeah, here's my references." And I'm like,
Yeah, that's fine.
carry on.
Yeah. Oh, the agency sent you. Cool. Great.
I was really hoping they'd be
How
like,
did you-
what agency? We hired a nanny. Why is there an agency?
How did you know that the other nanny had died? And she's like, "Oh, the devil told me." I mean, I read it in a newspaper. I read it. It was on the front page.
My cousin made her kill herself.
Yeah.
I mean, we read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. So sorry, just again, that you like all this like paranormal type things. Have you watched the Paranormal Activity sequels?
No, I've only seen the first one.
So the first one you wouldn't guess it, but by the sequels they go down into like weird like coven type bullshit. Basically, it gets really like they spin off the mythology
fucking
and
wild.
it gets confusing.
Isn't there like a weird sort of time travel-y portal situation?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Yeah.
For any listeners
Yeah. We
interested,
watched-
go and listen to the Non-a-thon-along special we did.
Where we watched all 5 of them back to back and recorded as we watched
Hear
each
our
one.
descent into madness.
Is it worth it?
What, watching all 5 of
No.
them?
Yeah.
Or listening to our episode? Because listening to our episode, yes. Watching all 5 of them, no.
Okay.
Watch number 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Each one has a thing about it that's interesting. Like 3 has that. Isn't 3 the one with the camera on the
Yeah,
fan?
but legitimately, like, if we were to say, like,
freaks me
these
out.
ones are good, I think it's 1, 2... Was 3?
Yes, it's
Yeah,
1 and
it's
2.
1 and 2 are the ones that I'd be like, watch them, and then you can just stop the series and be like, yeah, that's fine.
Am I missing out on a lot if I just watch? Like I've seen the first one. Can I just leave it there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I really loved the first one. I really, really loved it. But I mean, again, you know.
Yeah, no, totally fine.
So much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other issue I have is when I start a series, I like to try and finish it.
Yeah, you strike me as a bit of a completionist.
Yeah, so this is why I end up watching a lot of these like shitty
Except the
sequels
Stephen
to
King books.
horror movies that are awesome. Except for those. They're too big.
So what else happens in The Omen?
So, right, they've got the new nanny, and the dog shows up.
Yep.
Doesn't the dog first show up at the birthday
Yeah,
party?
you first see the dog
Yeah.
at the birthday party, then the new nanny secretly lets the dog into the house, and when the dad's like, no, get rid of this random dog that you've brought in, she's like, no, but Damien really likes the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Rottweiler is an interesting choice to hang out with a 5-year-old.
They have a bit of a reputation.
Yeah.
They do.
I don't think it's entirely this film's fault.
No, probably not. I don't think people would blame the Omen for Rottweiler's reputation.
No.
No.
Does I don't know if anyone here knows, but did the Omen like get any sort of like media backlash or?
I don't know.
Okay, because I think it missed like the whole video nasty thing. I don't think it was involved in any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it was too
I
early.
could be wrong.
Was it too early? I just don't think it was.
Nasty enough.
Yeah.
It's not a particularly like gruesome film. There's a couple of bits.
Although, to be honest, saying that, the vast majority of the films that were on the video nasties list weren't particularly nasty anyway. So
No.
it could have
Some
quite.
were, but
It essentially just had to have like a bad, like a kind of bloody cover on the video, so that Mary Whitehouse could take a glance at it and just decide that wasn't for her.
yeah, and therefore couldn't be for anyone else in the country.
Maybe the Omen's front cover was too demure and
It
classy.
was just all nuns.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Nan's lovely. That was my
That's it.
Mary Whitehouse
That's
impression.
very good.
It was good.
Thanks.
Now I'm just thinking.
Stop
about
getting
what
distracted,
else.
Liam.
We need to cover
The
some
Omen.
of those. We need to cover some.
Okay,
we
that's
need
fine.
to do.
Don't worry about it now. In the middle of
Last
another
House
part
on
of the
the Left.
podcast.
No.
Then, who dies next?
Well,
Well-
we're skipping ahead a bit.
We haven't talked about Father Brennan the priest.
Yep, fair enough. That's important.
Or Keith the photographer. So Keith the photographer is at the birthday party because like Gregory Peck and his family are like rich and famous, and so he, I think, works. I mean, we never really find out, but I get the impression he like works for like a local newspaper or something. So he's there like taking pictures, and also at the birthday party is Father Brennan, who wasn't on the invite list, but has like snuck on to the property because he wants to talk to. He's a massive party crasher. Wants to talk to Gregory Peck and like warn him because he knows that some bad demonic stuff is afoot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's sort of dismissed from the party quite roughly. And but as he's leaving, Keith the photographer takes his photo. And this all leads to some stuff later, doesn't it? With the photos and some. I mean, I wouldn't even call it foreshadowing, just more
freaky shit
showing how people are going to die horrible deaths.
This is also like, because he takes the priest's photo a couple of times throughout the next few scenes, right? Like there's a couple of other times where he grabs a photo, and every time he does it he says thanks, Father. And
I know, it's because he's
like
a polite
man.
man.
He doesn't say it nicely.
I
definitely got the impression, and I couldn't remember what was going to... Like, I vaguely knew what was going to happen, but couldn't super remember from the remake. So I was almost like, I wonder if the photographer's evil because of the way... Because of the way he'd, like... The father would start walking off, and then he'd be like, Father, thanks. And I was like, okay, what? You're almost threatening. But maybe he was just being polite.
I didn't get that at all. I think he's being very polite.
I was just misreading it.
Yeah, like, I will admit, like, the beginning bit where he's like, Father, and then the guy turns around and just snaps out the pictures. I'm like, that's a bit, like, I wouldn't
maybe it's
like
just
that.
because I was...
But the thanks, Father, I read as politeness.
I mean, it clearly is politeness. We know, because we've seen the rest of the film. I just thought it was a bit weird at the time.
Okay.
So, when he does take the second photo, it's when Father Brennan's gone to visit Gregory Peck at his office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he, like, locks them both in the office, and security are kind of banging on the door, and the receptionist going mad. And is that when I think that's when he says about it being like the wife that's in danger.
Yeah. He's like, your wife's pregnant. Or does he tell him that his wife's pregnant?
I don't think he says the pregnancy thing at that bit, but to like get him to agree to go and meet him. Oh no, that's at the cricket match. That's later. That's at the cricket match. So in the office, he just like spouts off a bit more, gets thrown out again, gets another photo taken. But I think like Gregory Peck's suspicions are starting to rise that, you know, something might be a bit bad going on. And then one of the weird things that Mrs. Belloc, the new creepy nanny, does is they're all due to go to a wedding, and she's like, I don't think it's appropriate that your son goes with you to this wedding because, you know, churches aren't for small boys, and she doesn't seem very keen at all on the fact that he's being taken to sanctified ground. And God bless her, the mum, played by Lee Remick, is like, he's my son. Get him in his little suit and get him in the car.
His Sunday best.
Yeah. Which I like. I like her sort of standing up to...
Yeah, but equally I do quite like the idea of like wait until they're old enough to make their own decision before forcing religion on them.
Yeah, but it's a wedding. It's not like he's being taken to mass.
This is Liam doing his anything that makes Liam's life easier is better. So he's like, people shouldn't have to go to weddings.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of weddings, but I went to Sunday. Is it no, not Sunday? What's the Christmas Eve one? Midnight Mass. Once because my nan really wanted to go before she died, and we were like, well, I guess we better go with you. And fuck me, it was boring. Jesus Christ. My cousin, who was like a couple of years younger, like curled up in a ball on the floor and fell asleep.
It's amazing.
And then I saw my English teacher, so I was like, I don't know, in like junior school at the time. Or was it? Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I saw a teacher from school there, and they were like, oh, we're going to see you here more often. I was just like, God, no.
No.
That would be a hard pass. But yeah, so Damien doesn't really get much of a choice, but outside the church, he throws a right little fit.
The closer they get.
This is Guildford Cathedral.
Yeah. And again, I remember once when I went to a wedding as a kid that I did not want to go to, I threw a right little fit, and my mum did this thing where she pinned me against the wall and said if I don't start behaving, she's going to smack me. And apparently, I've heard this story from her when I was older. She said there was another guy there who was watching this, and apparently all he saw was me being a little shit, her taking me out of the room, and then her bringing me back, and me apparently being like really nice and friendly and happy with everyone. And he was just like, you have to tell me your secret, because I think he was about to have kids. It was like, I don't know how you turned him around from being such a little shit to being like as good as gold. And it was just
threatening violence. Yeah,
the way to do it.
Jesus.
Did she pass on like the real hot tip, or did she make up something that was a bit more PC?
I don't think she passed on the real hot tip, but I think she used to have like a look. I'm sure everyone's parents would have a look. Right?
Yeah.
So
the one they just shoot you, and patience is
like,
up.
Oh, I've gone too far.
Yeah.
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 I went beyond the look, and it was marching orders.
But I get the impression with Damien, a look ain't going to cut it.
No.
Because
physical violence, maybe.
This tantrum he throws in the back of the car is pretty full on. And he hits his
punchy.
mum, gets very punchy. I think he's pulling her hair out. And so they race away from the wedding. And then Robert and Kathy are talking about it later, and she's sort of sorting her face out and stuff, she's got all bruises on it, and he says maybe there's something wrong with him, and she's basically sort of taking it all just on herself. She's like, no, he's fine, I think it's me, I can't deal with the stress. And I think it's it's quite cleverly done in some ways, because I think the idea that your child has even got behavioural issues or something, let alone being the literal Antichrist. I think it's probably quite natural to be to sort of not want to admit it, and to sort of think, oh no, it's just me, I'm not doing enough, or I'm showing him that I'm stressed and he's picking up on it, or whatever. So she says that there's nothing wrong with the son, and she needs to go and see a psychiatrist. And this is kind of the beginning of her sort of her starting to lose it a little bit. She starts to sort of wobble, and then Robert Thorne goes to meet Father Brennan down at the
yes, that's right,
Riverside.
Proper
and the father tells him the poem, doesn't read, he recites a bit of Revelations about the Jews returning to Zion, and the armies rising on either side, and the Antichrist coming out of the eternal sea, and all of this stuff. And the Gregory Peck is whatever, I came here because you said my wife's in danger. And then the priest drops the bombshell that she's pregnant. Bit dubious, because how would he know that? But gets Robert's attention, and then he's like, leave me alone, stay away from my family, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, but the devil's not happy about this, because he makes a storm come, and Father Brennan gets very freaked out, runs through the churchyard, but then the lightning hits the lightning rod on the church, and it comes down, and it skewers him like a big priesty kebab.
It's a pretty good on-screen death.
Oh, it's good.
So the priest, right, is he involved in all the Satanism stuff?
Yeah, so he is a
is
Satanist.
That how he knows about the pregnancy?
I think he knows about the pregnancy because it's part of the prophecy. She must be pregnant, because he says to him, he'll kill the unborn baby, and then he'll kill your wife, and then when he's sure to inherit everything, he'll kill you, the dad. I think he knows that she's pregnant because she kind of has to be pregnant.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It's been foretold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which, was there an insinuation there that doesn't Gregory Peck respond by saying something that's not possible? Is there some sort of were they no longer trying to conceive, or were there issues with them conceiving? Was there meant to be some sort of thing there about that?
I'm not sure. Is there something about she can't have any more children or something? Or
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Maybe.
Actually.
But then it turns out that she is pregnant anyway. So
yeah, because when he gets home, she's like, I feel like I'm losing my mind. And he's like, oh, I understand. Don't worry, you'll be fine. And she says, oh, well, you have to agree to me having an abortion because I don't want this baby. And he's like, oh, shit, she is pregnant. Oh, God, maybe it's all true.
Yeah.
and then he's like, she's having that baby.
Yeah.
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 There's some. So I said earlier that this is a 4.5 film for me, even though it's my favourite horror film. And to be honest, I think the reason it doesn't hit 5 stars is because the representation of female characters in it is rather thin on the ground.
Yeah. It's not,
So-
not ideal.
Yeah.
All of the women in this film are like, they're a wife or a nanny or a secretary or like a housekeeper. So yeah, and then all the men, they're like, I'm an ambassador, I'm a photographer,
Yeah. It's not right.
I'm a doctor, I'm a priest. You get some women as nuns, so I suppose that's a vocation. But yeah, I just think they're very thinly drawn, and essentially they're all just there to kind of be there for the men who have much more interesting stuff to be doing.
They're plot points.
And then you get the stuff with the abortion and him saying no, like she has to have the baby. And at first, very like lots of raised eyebrows. No, Gregory Peck, that's a bad Gregory Peck. But then he's like, well, it's not actually because he's like going against her wishes because he is against abortion or like he particularly wants to have this kid. It's because it was like prophesized that the pregnancy would be terminated, and he's like, I will avoid that at all costs.
He's basically like, fuck this prophecy.
Yeah. So still not great, but at least he's not doing
still
it
not
from
ideal.
like, you get the bit at the zoo. So his mum and Damien have a lovely day out at Windsor Safari Park.
Yeah, which is like a I can't remember the name of it, but I called it a drive-through zoo.
Yes, you
last
called
time.
Drive-through zoo.
Yes.
Yeah, but it has like a proper name.
Safari
Yeah,
Park.
Becky just said it.
Is that the proper name?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it had like a more like.
No.
I don't know, I thought like car was involved in
Sometimes,
the name.
mate, I do worry about you.
Yeah,
I think Drive-through zoo is great.
it's accurate.
Yeah, it is.
I know. Like when I think of Safari Park, right, I think of like proper like vast expanses of land where animals are roaming wild, not like.
Did you just say expanses instead of expanses? You did.
Yeah.
Vast expanses.
I picture one of those
Trying to
places
sound
with all the
posh.
vast expanses.
It's very late. My nap clearly was not big enough earlier.
So they go to the very limited expanses of Windsor Safari Park, and Damien scares some giraffes.
Takes out the giraffes.
Yeah, they are. So they're not driving at that point. He's just walking around with some ice cream.
Yeah,
And yeah, the giraffes take one look at him and like,
Which is fair.
yeah, nope, right out of there.
yeah.
It is fair. You're right.
And the mum comes along and she's a bit like, oh, those giraffes are mean, but let's carry on with this zoo experience anyway.
She's like, should we go and see the monkeys?
Oh, well, that was a
Yeah.
mistake.
Baboons are genuinely
Are
terrifying.
the baboons angry
Yeah.
at the Antichrist, or is he making the baboons attack the car?
No, I think they're angry at the Antichrist.
Yeah, I
Well,
think they
then,
sense
like,
that he is basically a presence
I'm
of
fully
evil,
on board
right?
with the baboons then, because the
It's
giraffes
a bit like
are
Ted Bundy
pissed
and the
off.
dog.
The giraffes were like, "Oh, I don't want to. I'm scared," and the baboons are like, "Hell no, we're gonna beat up the Antichrist, who's a small child."
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's like 4 giraffes and there was like, what, tens of monkeys.
And giraffes are very peaceful, docile herbivores, whereas baboons are terrifying psycho
Yeah, that's
monkeys.
They'll chew your face off.
That
They
is
will
true,
chew
they
your
will chew your
fucking
face
face
off,
off.
Yeah. And also watching that scene with the surround sound downstairs was just fucking there were monkeys everywhere in that room.
So, fun fact. So Kathy's like responses in the like reactions to the screamy, jumpy, scratchy, bitey monkeys. That was all legit, like genuine. So those were all her like genuine, like Lee Remick, the actress's genuine, like terrified reactions to the monkeys, which is quite impressive considering she sits there for ages just screaming and then decides to like wheel spin away.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it must have been so much easier to make a film where you were like, "We need an actress to be
yeah.
scared of baboons. How do we do that?" And they were just like, "Just get some baboons to attack her."
Chuck a bunch of baboons at her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
zero
Oh,
health and
yeah.
safety, like risk assessments.
It's like the Hitchcock method, right? In the birds, where it's like, all right, well, we need to make her scared of birds, so here's a fuck ton of birds coming at you.
Poor Tippi Hedren, honestly, what that woman went through. And apparently in The Omen, they didn't. The zookeepers didn't feed the baboons for like a day before filming, so they were extra angry.
That's always a good plan.
Yeah.
With like safari, do we still have safari parks in the UK?
Yeah. Longleat, I think that still exists.
How are they safe for the animals?
Well, a lot of the time the animals can't like. Oh no, they can walk up. They're just. I mean, if you ran over a lion at a safari park, you'd be fined.
Yes, but not a baboon.
If you ran over a baboon at a safari park, I'm sure you would be fined and probably arrested.
Oh, so I thought you said you'd be
No,
fined.
I said fined.
If you ran over a lion, you'd be fine.
I thought you were just being like. I thought you were just being very blasé about the price of baboons. Oh yeah,
For some
expensive
reason,
lions, but
I
baboons
got
are
really
dirt
mixed
cheap.
up. I got mixed up in my head, and for some reason I thought you were saying like if you run over a lion, your car would be fucked. I don't know how I got that from what you were saying. It doesn't make any sense. But then I was like, right, but a baboon you could get away with running over, and your car still being okay.
Fair enough.
But I hate the idea of safari parks. They freak me out.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't really do zoos and stuff.
I've done zoos. My mum wanted to do one for Mother's Day. Recent listeners would have heard all about that. They're okay in the sort of right conditions, like if it's all for the better of the animals and all that bullshit.
Oh yeah.
But like safari parks, I'm just like the thought of having an animal that close to me, and like my car also being the only thing that's protecting me. I'm like, no, that's a risk too high.
It does. It
Yeah,
seems like
I'm
your
with you.
ideal type of zoo, though, Liam, because it's the least effort.
Is it though? I've got to drive around.
Oh,
it.
true. And if it got dark, you'd be stranded there, and it would be a nightmare. Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah. If it was the least effort, I'd be chauffeured around the zoo. And now we're talking.
Uber round the zoo.
Could you imagine? It'd be so good.
Amazing.
But anyway, yeah, I really like that scene at the zoo.
Yeah,
scene.
it's good. It's good. It's quite scary.
I wish we could have seen some more animals, like an actual like experience where they're driving through different enclosures and all of the animals are freaking out.
Yeah, I guess it's just a
Like,
cost.
it could
right?
like gently escalate. So you'd start with like I don't know some boars or something, then like maybe some zebras, and then you get to the monkeys, and then you get like the lion or something.
Elephant.
Yeah, but a pissed off elephant's gonna fuck your car right up, and that's the end of Damien, then, isn't it?
Yeah, good point.
So they leave the zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it gets to the point that she's preggo. Damien very unhappy about this. So she is in some quite serious danger.
Yes.
And Nanny winds him up in a room with a closed door. It's got him just going round and round and round on his little trike.
Bit Shining.
Very Shining,
almost.
I think.
Like
Yeah,
a couple of
especially
years before Shining, I think.
76 this was made.
Yeah, I think Shining came out 80.
Okay. And then definitely like as you sort of follow him like along the landing. So his mum's doing some very precarious interior decorating.
Yeah, isn't it like a light bulb blows
By-
or something, or something falls?
Or she's like fixing
Yeah,
a
something
lampshade or
fell,
something
and then
like
she's
that,
putting
right?
it back up, but she has to climb on a table next to a banister.
And the table she uses did have a fish bowl on it, and she puts the fish bowl in the single most precarious place it's possible to do, like on top of a banister over a sort of 20-foot drop.
Just talk about that, right? Why would you keep a fishbowl on like the landing?
As decoration?
Just doesn't seem like a sensible place to keep a pet.
Okay, well, I
Does
mean,
it? Like on a second floor.
To be
landing?
honest, I think as long as the fish is in the water, it doesn't really care where its bowl is.
Okay.
It doesn't need a nice view. It's going to have forgotten it in 3 seconds.
I like that this is the bit Liam's getting hung
That's
up
not
on.
true.
This bit.
Yeah, like we had a goldfish, and they do learn like routine, like when you're going to feed them. So they have.
All right, Liam, calm down. Let's talk.
That's debunked that.
Me and Becky haven't eaten yet. It's 11 p.m.
It's 8 minutes past 11 and I'm so hungry and I just want to talk about the film.
You're dragging it out by talking about
so
fucking
we've got the fish, she puts it on the side, and then Damien comes along, bumps her, the fish bowl goes over the side.
Incredible shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice slow motion.
And then the smash at the bottom, so good.
Then she's hanging onto the banister, and she's like, help. And Damien's like,
Yeah,
No.
no,
I'm
I'm good.
5, what do you expect me to do? And then
she has a
falls,
less
and you have
impressive
that weird
fall.
shot.
Where they've clearly put her on
then-
something,
yeah.
got her to rotate as she falls. It's weird. It's such a weird.
Yeah,
shot.
that it hasn't held up super well.
No.
That effect, has it?
No.
And
Doesn't kill her though, just the baby.
yeah, so Robert hears that she has fallen and is in hospital, comes along and finds out, she's miscarried the baby. Damien's like, nailed it. Fucking tick that off the to-do list.
Yeah. What's next?
What's next? Well, it's time to kill Mama, isn't it?
Yeah, is this when the dad
Yeah.
goes to
So-
Egypt? Or wherever he goes, not Egypt.
Yeah, Dad goes on his
To
European-
Rome!
I don't know why I said Egypt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically he's at the hospital. She's sort of saying, don't let him kill me, don't let him kill me, talking about Damien. And he goes home, he's like all exhausted, and the phone rings, and it's Keith the photographer. And Keith the photographer says, you've got to come over here, I've got something to show you. And so he goes around and he's developed all the photos that he's been taking. And so there were the ones that he was taking at the birthday party, and he's got some of the nanny, and she's got this like weird dark mark around her neck that looks a little bit like a noose. And then he's taken the ones of the priest,
And he's got the
thank you father
Yep.
doctors, and he's got the like the dark again, like it looks at first it's like, oh, could it be a smudge on the film, and then like it becomes much more kind of obvious, and again it looks like the lightning rod that's like skewered him. And he says, I know that you're going to investigate it and I want to come with you. And Gregory Peck's like, no, it's got nothing to do with you. This is my business. And then the photographer's like, well, actually, it does have something to do with me, because look at this. And he shows him a picture that he'd like taken in the mirror. So it's like a self-portrait by mistake. And he's got this like slash through his neck. And he thinks like, shit, I'm also done for. So we need to find a solution to this. Pretty sharpish.
Yeah.
And they go over to Father Brennan's old little house. And inside he's...
Lovely set design.
Oh, this is probably my favourite scene of the film, I think.
Yeah.
So he's got the pages of the Bible, like literally pasted over every surface inside the house. So it's on every wall and like over the windows and stuff. And he's got like nearly 50 crucifixes.
I think
And
like 48, is it?
yeah, something like that. And he's the photographer's like, it looks to me like he was trying to keep something out. And that's when we find out that he had, so as part of the autopsy after he got skewered, they found a strange birthmark that looked like 3 6s.
Yeah. But not in like a row, but like imagine like a triangle made of 6s.
Yeah. It's quite a cool little design.
That is.
Yeah. It'd make for a cool tattoo.
It would. I would imagine there are many.
So many.
So many. So they're like, cool. Well, let's go on a little jaunt. Fancy some
road
pizza. Yeah, Euro trip. So they go over to Rome to find out a little bit more about this baby that is apparently a pretty bad egg. And they go to the hospital, and there was a fire at the hospital which has burnt all of the records, so they can't find anything out about the adoption. And this is where they meet the nun, and this is where we see the nun lifts.
Yeah, we discussed this at great length last time. We'll truncate that discussion, but basically there's just this weird elevator.
It's a weird lift.
It's like I can't remember what they're called now. What the
Dumbwaiter?
dumb waiters. It's like a dumb waiter for nuns.
Yes.
Yeah, a nun waiter.
No. And so she's like, right, well, there was this priest who was here. He might be able to tell you some stuff. He was here at the time. And this rings a bell with Gregory Peck. And he's like, yeah. Where can I find him? And she says, go to this monastery. He went there after the fire. Like, he was badly burned. But, he was still alive when he went there. And as she finishes telling them this info, she just, like, casually steps onto a sort of open elevator and disappears. It's the most amazing thing.
Yeah, I mean, we were discussing this last time. We were saying, like, what happens at the top?
What happens at the top? I know.
And I still, honestly, couldn't tell you.
No, I don't think we solved it last time, and I don't think we're going to do it now.
No. So they go to the monastery.
Yep.
Meet the burnt priest man.
Yep.
he can't really talk, but he can write. Mm-hmm. So he writes a single word, which then takes them to a graveyard.
Yes.
Or cemetery. Same
To
thing,
find-
right?
Same
much.
diff.
Is there a difference? Yeah.
They're trying to find the remains of Damien's mum, Damien's like true mother, and potentially the remains of his son to see whether his son's actually still alive or not.
Yeah.
Was that like their initial plan when they went there? Or was that just something they decided to do once they got there?
Which bit? The my son bit.
The baby bit.
Yeah, so they get to the cemetery and they're like, oh, I've got to see if it's my son or whatever.
Yeah.
But before they went to the cemetery, was he like, oh, I also want to just check
I
my son's there?
don't remember
I'm a
if he
child.
was specifically like my son's there too, or if he was just like saw the grave and was like, oh okay.
Yeah.
I can't super remember.
Okay.
It
So
says
they find
like Bambino or whatever on it, doesn't it?
Yeah. So they find the mum's grave first, and they open it. And I thought that you corrected me last time that it was a small horse. Actually, it's a jackal.
Yeah, it's a jackal.
Correct. Yeah.
I love that
Not
you thought it was a small horse.
Slight difference. Yeah, it's a pony. To be fair, knowing my feelings towards horses wouldn't surprise me if the Antichrist was better.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, Liam hates horses.
So I gather. So yeah, but that's a cool scene, right? They like open it up and it's like, ooh, you know.
Yeah, and then it gets even darker with the next bit where they open up the child's grave and they find out that it wasn't stillborn, had its head caved in.
Murderers, he says. I know.
Yeah.
They killed him just like minutes old and they caved his little tiny baby skull in.
Jesus.
The only thing I'll say about that scene is really obvious that it was a set.
Oh, so obviously.
It was not shot on location.
No, you're so right. I know. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure even like the sky in the background is just one of those like realistic painting things. Like, they've basically done it in like a garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the rest of the scene is like super creepy, really chilling, really effective. But then it's just this every now and again you're just like, that's not a real place.
No, definitely not.
It's movie magic. Yeah.
And so after they've made these gruesome discoveries, the evil devil dogs turn up and chase them around. And they like flee, jump over good old chase. Jump over a fence, and Robert like impales his arm on the spike on top of the fence, which is pretty.
Yeah.
Because it's not just that it's not just that it goes through his arm.
Yeah.
It's also like the dogs are still trying to get them, and like Keith the photographer is sort of trying to get him down, and like his weight's on it. Like that's quite. Yeah. It's quite grim.
Yeah.
I don't like seeing Gregory Peck in pain.
No, that's fair.
And then they get back to the hotel, and he gets a phone call when he gets back there because something terrible has happened at the hospital.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but only because it's so insane.
Is it though?
Only because this is the one bit I can remember from the remake.
Oh,
like the remake
and in
version
fact,
is much less dramatic.
I've said it wrong anyway, because of course what actually happens is he doesn't get the phone call. He phones the hospital to talk to Kathy and say, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
It turns out you are in loads of danger. And she's like, oh, well, I can't really move. Like, she's got like a broken pelvis and stuff. And he's like, he's like, no. Like, I'm sending somebody for you. You'll be fine. Like, just get the fuck out. And as she's got like her nightie kind of sort of trapped over her head with like the cast from her arm, and like she can't really, like she's all sort of tangled up in quite a hilarious comedy moment. It probably isn't supposed to be, but it makes me laugh every time. And but she like hears something behind her, and it's Mrs. Belloc, the evil nanny, who then forcefully pushes her out the window, and she falls through the roof of an ambulance, and that is it. She's dead.
Yeah.
But then lands perfectly on a gurney.
Just makes it easier for the porters to take her back into the morgue.
Yeah, exactly.
She's considerate to the end, that one.
Yeah.
It's so dramatic.
Probably
that you get him telling his wife to get out, her immediately getting murdered, and then is the next scene him finding out she's dead.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but the other thing is surely right.
Yeah.
When the photographer was doing all his pictures, he would have got some pictures of the wife, the mum, as well, right?
Yeah, but then maybe how do you show you fall through a window with a nightie around your neck? Her whole picture would have just been a black
She's got
sponge.
a flashing light on her head.
Yeah.
True.
I don't know. Maybe it could have been foreshadowed.
Maybe if the whole picture was just dark because she slammed into a car.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, so then...
Wait, no, I was about to make a joke and then I actually realised what it is. Damien didn't kill her. The wicked, like the witch lady did. And so all the ones that leave a mark are when Damien has forced someone to die in a certain way, or the devil has killed them. But that one is literally another human being killing a human being, so it doesn't show anything on the pictures because it's not the devil doing it, it's a normal person. Do you see what I mean?
Which also explains why Gregory Peck doesn't have pictures of him being shot.
Exactly, yeah.
That is some good theorising. I like it.
Yeah. So, yeah, Gregory Peck returns to the UK. It all starts escalating very quickly.
No.
What?
He's got to go and see Pocahontas first.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah,
come
sorry.
on, Liam,
Yeah.
You're getting all excited.
Sorry, I was aware that you're both
Very
hungry, so I was just
hungry.
Moving along.
whizzing through it too fast.
So Copenhagen.
Yeah.
So the Father Brennan had told Gregory Peck about Copenhagen, and he's in the like the birthplace of Christianity or the birthplace of the Bible or something like that. And he's like he's an exorcist and he's a archaeologist. And so
That's
after
a spin-off film, isn't it?
fuck yeah, I would watch that. So they go basically after the wife's been killed. They're like, right, Damien has got to die. So he decides that he'll go and see this guy, Copenhagen, to get like the only tool that can kill the Antichrist. And it turns out it's these knives. And there's a very cool scene where this guy, Copenhagen, like talks him through how to do them in like the right order. Liam would have loved it.
So for the knives to work, they had to be done in a he has to be stabbed in a specific order, does he?
Yeah, so he says like you have to put the central one in, so it's in the shape of a cross. You have to put the central one in first, which extinguishes his heart, and then the next one is like the next one up. I think I can't remember whether it's his like head or his throat or whatever, but that extinguishes like the soul or something, and then all the others just like radiate outwards. So there's like a ritual that he has to do, and it has to be on consecrated ground and all of that jazz. And it all sounds very convincing, but still, Gregory Peck is like, but he's just a little boy, like he's just 5. How am I supposed to murder my child? Like, even if he isn't really my child, like I've raised him and he's just a little boy, how can I be sure? And Copenhagen says, well, if he is the Antichrist, he'll have one of these 666 birthmarks. And if you've never seen it, it'll probably be under his hair. So Gregory Peck leaves with this sort of plan, but then he meets back up with the photographer and he's like, still can't do it.
Yep.
Little boy, he's been my son, blah, 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 and like throws the knives away.
Which is...
And Keith the
It's like a
It is
building
weird,
site.
because you'd think... I get that you're like, oh, I can't kill my own son, but you would think, I don't know, you would just throw the knives away, because then obviously the photographer's going to be like, I'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dramatic gesture, you know.
It's good. I'm only complaining because lack of food.
So yeah, he sort of throws them onto like a building site because there's like construction work going on. And Keith, the photographer, goes to fetch them because he's like, don't be stupid, you can't throw them all away. And then we get not only the best death of the film, in my humble opinion, but one of the best deaths in like movie history. It's so great. I fucking love it so much.
It's so good.
So like the glass panel slides, so he like bends down.
Yeah, he goes to get the knives, and then you also see this shot of someone like parking up a van, and they pull the handbrake up, and they get out, and the handbrake falls back down. The van starts rolling backwards. There's a sheet of glass on it, and it hits something, and the sheet of glass comes flying off and decapitates a photographer.
And his head does a flip.
And then you've got his head just like flip. Yeah.
And then it like lands and you get a cool like, and there's a big spray of blood and you get when it lands you get the cool like reflection of it like in the shattered glass as well. So cool.
It is awesome.
And obviously Gregory Peck's like, fuck, I'm on my own now. So he goes back to the UK and goes home, and there's this very cool sequence where he's like trying to get up to Damien's bedroom without the dog
Yes.
sort of getting him, and so he like sneaks it's really tense. He's like sneaking, and the dog's sort of, he knows that something's going on, but he can't quite figure out who's there or whatever. And then he, like, Gregory Peck does this thing where he like goes down to the basement, so the dog like follows him down, and then really quickly runs back up and like shuts him in the basement.
Yeah, he outsmarts the dog.
It's very cool.
I fell for it as well. He outsmarted me.
It's not impressive.
And then he gets some scissors, goes and does a little bit of
Barbering?
amateur barbering.
Yeah.
And
Perfectly finds exactly where it is, like, on the first few snips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's handy, that.
Yeah. I was expecting, like, several attempts before you'd get there.
I was going to say, although I'm pretty sure this isn't right, I was going to say, oh, well, the actor, like, Damien's, the actor, his real mum in real life was probably like, you can cut a little bit, but he's got school photos on Monday, so don't cut it all.
Don't go too crazy.
And then I realised, like, there's absolutely no way they're actually cutting that real kid's hair. Like, it's definitely, like, how ridiculous. But anyway.
Yeah.
So he cuts it in exactly the right place,
Yeah.
finds the 666 birthmark. Evil nanny attacks, and she, like, jumps on his back, and she's like clawing at him, and puts up a right old fight. They do. I would not take her on, I can tell you.
Yeah.
She is pretty scary.
I mean, this whole film is just
like,
if I was anyone in this film, I would just be like, dude, it's fine. You're my heir, and not only are you my heir, you can just have it all now, and I'll go. Don't kill me. I'll just leave.
Yeah, we'll all just leave.
Yeah.
You just do what you want. It's fine. Become Sam Neill in your own time. Yep. I'm proud of you, kid. But yeah, so he manages to, like, knock her out, and then he grabs Damien, bundles him in the car, off they speed, up Seven Hills Road to my nan's house. But before they get there, they pull into a little church of consecrated ground so that Gregory Peck can end it by extinguishing the life of little Damien, the Antichrist.
But he still doesn't, like, to me, I don't think he'd have gone through with it even if the police hadn't have shown up. Like, he was still sort of wavering.
Well, it's when I think he's gonna do it, and then cheeky little chappie's like, no, Daddy, no, please don't,
Exactly.
Daddy. And then, I mean, that is a proper...
But then he goes to lunge with the knife, because that's why the policeman shoots him. So he would definitely have done it, because he's literally about to do it. Like, he goes to plunge it down.
I'm not convinced he would have. Alright, stabbing a child once is one thing, but then, like, a further, 4 times on top of that?
Once you've done it once.
At least,
he'd have done the one, and then he'd have been like...
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Yeah,
the first one's the hardest, Liam.
Oh, and then you do it, and you go, actually...
Got a taste for this now.
Yeah!
Alright, okay. Maybe I just have a different view on stabbing children. That's fine. I'm alright with that.
Yeah.
And then the closing scene. So the Robert's best friend is the President of the United States of America. Yeah. It turns out they were at college together, and so the final scene is basically the funeral of Robert and Kathy, and it, like, pans backwards. They do the cool thing with, like, the folding, like the triangle flag that you always get at, like, military funerals or whatever, and there are, like, soldiers with their guns.
Yeah, it might just be me, but there was a moment where I was like, oh, who, like, did he manage to do it before he got shot? Like, there's definitely a bit of a moment where you're like, there's, like, almost like a fake out, and then the camera does pan out, and you're like, yeah, no, he didn't get to finish this.
Damien's buddied up with the president.
He's buddied up with the prez. And then you get that, like, iconic shot of him turning around in his ugly little hat, smiling at the camera.
It's such a good shot, though.
So good. He's so really evil. You know how fucked you are.
Like, yeah, he turns and he looks at the camera, but he doesn't smile immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's a recognition where he's like, I've got away with this. And then once you realise that, then he smiles.
Yeah.
Like, the timing of that scene is just perfection.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a bit of a weird plan, because he's buddied up with the president, which I get it.
Yeah.
Because the evil will rise from the world of politics.
But
yeah, well, that was the redirect. So initially, the prophecy was that it would rise from the sea, and then apparently a reading of that was that the sea would mean politics, because it was always in turmoil, something like that. But that's
also not how politics work. Like, yes, the president appears to have adopted you. You inherited your dad's fortune through that side, yes, but being the president's kid, that ain't going to get you nothing. I mean, it might get you a bit of respect.
I guess it doesn't mean that he's going to become the president. But he's there for, like, if you're the president's kid, I think that can be
like George Bush.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Fair.
I thought you meant like George Bush's kids, and I was like, I don't know who they are, but I see what you mean. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. but also there are sequels, so if you want to find out how this all pans out,
I think I will.
I'm tempted to.
You know me, I probably will, and I'll discuss them on future housekeepings if I do.
Great stuff.
So anything about The Omen specifically that we want to call out before we wrap everything up? Because I think like the acting throughout is pretty solid, but also like the kid that plays Damien, like obviously is very young, so doesn't have a whole lot of experience of acting, but is also like pretty damn good.
He's good. He's pretty naturalistic. Like he's not because he doesn't really have any lines. So there's just a lot of sort of reaction stuff and like, evil little smiles and tantrums and stuff.
Yeah, but how do you direct a kid and be like, just look fucking creepy? Like, here's your mum hanging off a banister.
You say to a kid,
at her.
"Hey, do some acting," and the kid's got no idea what's going on, so just freezes up and is like, and that's perfect. Yeah. That's what Damien does in most scenes. Is like,
nice.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Stare at those giraffes. Perfect.
Brilliant. Stare at the camera and
there we go.
Smile.
Done.
We got it.
Fair enough. What would we rate the episode? Becky's already said 4.5 out of 5, I believe. Ellie?
I don't remember what I gave it last time, so I'm going to say 3.5 out of 5.
And I'm going to agree with 3.5 out of 5. Like, I like it, but there's other similar-ish, like Exorcist or Rosemary's Baby, I prefer.
Fair.
Okay. Next time on Nerd, we are going to be discussing Rat Queens Volume 1, Sass and Sorcery. It's a graphic novel. I think it's like inspired by D&D or something, and Ellie's on this whole like D&D kick at the moment, so that's why we're doing that. Becky, where can people listen to your podcast? Where can they find you on the internet? All that good stuff.
So the podcast is Don't Point That Horror at Me. You can find us at Point Horror Pod across all the socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm Bunny Darke. Yeah, that's it. Bunny Darke.
There we go. Easy. Thank you for joining us for this discussion.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming back again.
Thanks for appearing on 2 episodes, one of which is lost forever.
Yeah. Well,
appreciate it.
Thanks very much for having me on.
It's lost to the internet, but it's not to us and our hearts and memories.
So true.
Us three all got our own special Nerd on Nerd episode that no one else will ever listen to.
Yeah, lucky us. Ellie, where can people find us?
We're Nerd on Nerd on Twitter. Email us at nerdonnerdpod@gmail.com. Facebook.com/nerdonnerdpod, all one word.
I never update that.
You're in charge of social media. You made me update it for fucking ages, so you better be updating it. Fine.
I never do. Keeps notifying me. It's like, your followers haven't heard from me in a while. I'm like, yeah.
We're on YouTube. If you search Nerd on Nerd, we come up somewhere. Maybe.
No, we did come up. All one word. All one word.
Everything's all one word with us. Rate us on iTunes. That's the thing people ask for. Do it.
Yeah, why not? Doesn't hurt.
Probably not. Well, unless they give us 1 star, then it will hurt. Please don't do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, it depends on what the rating is.
Yeah, true. Rate us nicely.
Yeah, rate us nicely. Is there anything else we do at the end of an episode?
Yeah, final thoughts?
I'm hungry. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.